So we sell. I said, well, why can you do that for that man that you don't even run his business, but you can't do it for yours?
Exactly.
Right. So see, it's some of those essential things. One, and I'm talking about people I know who are making 7-8 figures, and they've even struggled with that. Like, I don't really have that. It's like they've just been kind of blessed and fortunate. They've been community or they have influence.
This is a mentorship, right? I'm just
Right
sitting
here,
here
I ain't gonna
listening.
lie.
This is a mentorship right here. And she's right on point with it. Like, no hesitation. Like, she's a walking mentorship, walking
For real.
book, walking encyclopedia. Welcome back to another episode of the Millionaire Essentials podcast. You know I'm one of your hosts, Brandon the Provider.
Yes, sir, and it's Tevin Facey. And today we have none other than Akanundrum.
Yes. Thank you. It's been an arduous experience getting here.
Right.
But this was so worth it, and I feel like that's how life is, right?
Yes.
When you're doing something that's super worth it, you got to get through it. So definitely determined to be here today. So thank you.
Well, you definitely made it. And this is a special one, right? And I definitely appreciate you for coming out. You're doing a lot online. You very, very vocal online. Very you got a lot of time. So let's talk about who Akanundrum is, right? Because I actually met you a few years ago.
Right. At InvestFest.
And ever since then, I think it was InvestFest, right?
Yeah, it was.
Ever since then, like, it's just that, it's like seeing an ad, right?
Right.
I see her everywhere.
Wow.
Like, everywhere.
I'm in your zeitgeist. I'm in the algorithms. Working.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And especially, like, very, very vocal in the black community.
Right.
The black business community.
Right.
So let's talk about, for the people that don't know, I don't know how you don't know, who is Akanundrum?
Thanks. Okay. So my name is Quincy Wayne, and Akanundrum was just a moniker. It was my personal page. So it's a play on AKA my sorority and a conundrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really how that came to be. And lo and behold, it is now stuck, and it's, one of those kinds of things. So me personally, Quincy Wayne, I am what we always call a serial entrepreneur, right? Meaning I've done quite a few things, but most importantly, I consider myself to be a strategic solutionist, because all I think about is problems and how to solve them, right? And what is the most effective strategy to do that? So overall, that's really what I lend to the space. And so that comes about in a lot of different vehicles. It presents itself differently, whether it's a digital solution, right? Or whether it's, so whatever it is, it comes out that way. But overall, I would say that would be my strong suit, besides customer service as well, too. And of course, I have a passion and a love for us, our community, trying to help us bring ourselves to the table, right? And a more, I would say, accountable and autonomous and independent way, right? So that's really kind of how that comes across.
Gotcha. Yeah. You can tell, obviously by the name Akanundrum, that she's gonna be using big words today. I just want to let you. I know that right now. Autonomous. She's going crazy today. But when we first met you, right, at InvestFest, and we saw that you had I think it was the first black virtual mall.
Yes.
And it's like a marketing. It's just a big marketing tool, right? And it's very like these forums that people used to use back in the day, and now. Like, explain to us what that virtual mall is for the people that don't know.
Okay, and so the Black Virtual Mall came about as me trying to respond initially to the pandemic and the shutdown.
Right.
And so right when that happened, 41% of black-owned businesses, physical brick and mortars, had shuttered.
Yes.
And so, of course, everyone was e-commerce heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about the entrepreneurs who are brick and mortar who don't know how to transition into that digital space.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tall ask to get them to know that. So I thought, okay, let me just use an old school solution for a new school problem. And that was simply this. What did the malls do for small businesses, right? They provided a vehicle where small businesses got foot traffic, so they put the bigger stores in. So I said, okay, let me do that, where instead of it just being what we're using now for a marketplace, where it's so product focused, I wanted to solve for a few things that I felt like people hadn't solved for. So what I did differently was I said, okay, let's really go all the way mall. So the GUI, the graphic user interface, looks like a mall, right? But it's in the future. But I want to go all spaceship Mars, right? I needed
Yeah,
something-
Oculus, VR,
Right,
all
we
that
didn't
good
do
stuff.
all that. I wanted something grounded that looks like the mall, looks like what you know and like and trust already, right? So we created the concept of the mall visually, and then I thought too, what can I bring new to the space? What would be my differentiators to a market space? So it's the first mall, black or otherwise, to have an operating food court. First virtual mall to have a movie theater, right? And those are things that are staple in the malls.
Right.
So we have that. But then what I wanted to do differently was to help these businesses pronounce themselves more. So we don't focus on product, we focus on brand. So if you go to Amazon or anything that you got from Amazon right now, do you remember the last thing you got from Amazon?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
I buy some from Amazon every day.
Okay, cool.
I literally just got some
If
for
it's not
everybody.
too personal, right? What did you get?
It's some shaving. For me, it was some shaving cream.
Okay.
Some men's products.
I got mounts for my monitors.
Okay.
TV.
Do you remember the name of the company that you got?
Oh
the
hell
mounts
no!
from?
I definitely don't remember that.
See, that was the problem. So a lot of the digital marketplaces, that's what they wind up doing. They're product centric, and so when you go to it, you like Amazon. And so if I were to be on Amazon and leave Amazon, you wouldn't really remember me or how to find me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do something different. So we actually put storefronts up that are brand heavy. So it has your branding on it. But then what we also do differently is when they click onto your storefront, it goes directly to your website. So that way you're getting the KPIs, you're getting the traffic, you're getting everything. Everything
tracking and
starts
everything.
and ends with you
That's
at your
amazing.
storefront. So they know exactly where they got it. The second thing that I did differently was in Amazon, one of the core features that you love, that we love as a consumer, but kind of sucks as a vendor, there's over 9 million stores in there. That's a lot of competition, right? So we limited it to 500 stores. High visibility, high exclusivity, so you get seen, right? So those are some of the key differentiators that I wanted to carve out to make it a different type of space and a different type of feel.
There's so many things I want to get into because you're just like you say, you're a business strategist, right? So
Yes.
you're like a wealth full of walking knowledge, right? So I want to start first. How does somebody get into a store, right? Like me and Tev, we have products, right? We run a business. How does somebody get into a store?
We made the application process and even the onboarding process seamless. It's a simple application. We do vet the stores, right? We get into that kind of conversation
Yes,
later.
yes,
So
yes.
it's not just I'm black owned, I have a right to be here. No, you have had to earn your way in.
Yeah.
So if you are doing good business, because we do actually go through and see your reviews, we check your, see what people are saying about your business.
Right.
So
Know your customer,
Exactly.
NYC.
So you have to actually apply, and then we try to make sure that we can meet different people where they are. So there's a premium storefront where you have higher visibility, larger branding. There's the regular storefront, and then there's kiosk. And then we even did like music and ebooks, for people who just have smaller things. So depending on where we see that you would fit, because we have people who apply for premium, but they're not ready for premium yet. So, we review your store, then we give you your placement. And then once you do that, we literally just take your website. We take the assets directly from your website. So you don't have to worry about giving us anything. We take everything, we build your storefront, and then you are placed into the store on the first of the month. So it's really super simple. We do onboarding once a month, and so simple.
Wow. And I think that's what's so special about what you do, right? So online marketing, you're crazy with marketing, crazy with sales, advertising from what I see. And you lead organically. You stay true to yourself. So I think one of the issues about what a lot of us do in this space, we lead with passion, but not education and facts.
Yeah.
So we get driven more with passion. And what I see online is what you do. You're constantly correcting people. You're constantly correcting people with facts, with education about this is the truth. This is how you really do this. It's not just what you think or how you feel. And you're being organic to yourself. So in a space like this where people are using these cookie cutter formulas on how to market, how to sell, and they're maybe scared or it's hard to be organic, how have you grown your following, your marketing so big, staying true to yourself?
Right. So that part, honestly, my page grew from just that. It was coming through with the facts, right? Coming
Right.
through with the data, not just the and for me, my page at one point, it became like a running rebuttal sheet for people.
Yep.
So you get into an argument with somebody. My page was where you went and sourced the data to come and back up your argument, right? So people loved that part of my page. And so it really grew out of that. In terms of me, that's really who I am. Like at the end of the day, my passion is just learning. You know how you kind of box yourself into different hobbies? And I realized like I really am so interested in learning so much. College, for me, I went as an adult. So I was 29 when I went to college. That's a very different mindset. That didn't feel like that forced, okay, I got to go to school to get a degree. I was married. I was a homeowner. You know what I mean? So it was a different experience. It was like the best time of my life. So it's there where I was filling in all of my holes and all of my inadequacies. And I learned just so much. And I'm literally a fan of learning.
Right.
And so part of my degree, of course, gets to stats and data and research and things like that. So that's the part of me that always shows up. And so now it's the same thing in business, so it just transferred over.
Oh, wow. I tell you, the part that I love, right, is the fact that you're saying something that I think us all as entrepreneurs we need to do is just continue just to learn, right? To be the person that wants to learn, to be the person that wants to take in as much information as possible, right? But before we even get to that, how did you get to becoming Akanundrum, the serial entrepreneur, right? Because we see who you are now, right? The amazing person, data-driven, facts-driven, and has the virtual mall. But how did you get to becoming who you are? What made you, what shaped you into who you are today?
Right. So my origin story, right?
Right.
And we're all trying to figure out how to do that origin story,
Right,
right?
right.
Get this origin story now. Okay. So it's, I'll give you the shorter version of it.
Yeah,
and then
no,
you
the
can
longer
elongate
version,
wherever
yeah.
you want, right? Okay. So basically, had creative visions, always a hustler. You in the hood, right? Braid hair, you do all kinds of stuff, okay? Have all these ideas, but to be honest with you, I never really saw myself in terms of business because I had so many interruptions. I was in a GATE program, but you know how gifted and talented education.
Gotcha.
He wouldn't know. He wouldn't know.
No,
he wouldn't know.
I definitely didn't know what that
He
was.
wouldn't know.
Go play, Tim.
Yeah.
He wouldn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't know. Yeah,
But he wasn't in there neither.
I actually was.
No, he knew about it. He wasn't
Listen,
in there.
I was in
He
a
didn't-
gifted and talented program when
no,
I was
he
a
wasn't.
kid.
So go
I
ahead. What
absolutely
was you saying?
See,
I absolutely
and they
was.
call it different things, in different school districts, right? So that part was cool, but once I moved around so much, we parents are on drugs, all kinds of stuff is going on, and so I had a lot of disruption in math. So going to like 3 different high schools, 3 different junior high schools, and so math became my Achilles heel. And it was kind of where I started to actually just define myself like, I don't do math well, right? I don't do math. Everything else, I got that down pat. So when I thought about business, you would primarily think math. And I thought I'm not a math girl, so I would never do business well. And so for me, I had ideas, but I always thought I would have to fund them and get somebody else to like run the operations. So over time, I wind up going through a series of journeys, going to college. My best friend has a Fortune 500 franchise, which is Edible Arrangements. I'm headed for grad school at the time, and I wind up having to come in and work for her at her business. And what was different is that I'm already, bachelor's, but I'm headed for grad school. So while I'm managing her store, by her being my best friend, she trusts me in ways that were different than I think anybody else. And I worked for her harder than I would have worked for anybody else. So when I got there, it was negative 50,000. That's where it was. And I think they had it for about 7 years at that point. I got it up to 1.2 million in 2 years. I took our store, which was 61 stores in California. We were 43. I took us to number 2. 1,200 stores in the United States. We were 256. I took us to number 11. And so just in that time, I learned, my confidence grew because I got to practice on her business, right? So and of course, I'm going to be hella conservative because it's her money, it's her budget. I'm going to make sure everything is right. But she let me experiment with strategies and management and advertising and doing different things. And by being a franchise, I learned a lot on a different type of, business from a different perspective. So not just a small mom and pop, but how is this running internationally? How is this running nationally? So with that, I grew my teeth on that business. I had my own ideas for business. And so I said, okay, I think I can trust myself. The regional director said, I don't think you need to go get an MBA. I think you got this. And so I started my first business, which was Bits by Design. And that was not successful. That was not profitable. And
Gotcha.
that was the thing that I did every single thing right. Check mark list. And also I told myself, oh, it takes 5 years to get money back. So I won't put you.
Wait, no.
Why you looking at?
No, so the reason why I'm laughing.
'Cause I got something for you too. I got something for you.
The reason why I'm laughing. No, you know what? Go ahead. Finish your story.
I got something for you. Because you said something on the podcast where you agreed with me. I did my research, but anyway, go ahead.
What? All right,
I know what you were saying.
And when I did that, I was doing everything right. And that's really one of my first viral posts, which is so crazy because I'm going through the checklist, right? I'm strengthening. I'm doing my SWOT. So I'm taking marketing classes at UCLA, copyright. I'm just putting my hands on everything I can do. So you know how the application process is. They'll be like, this is old school. They like, okay, if you're going to apply for your EIN, you need a business phone number. Well, I go to apply for a business phone number. They like, do you have the EIN? I'm like, well, how the hell would I get the EIN if you... So it was so many different things. And I was like, this ain't making no sense. The order. So
you had all the foundation and fundamental things in order for you to start a business.
So did that. So now I do the list, and what I did was I was taking people along the way. So I go to Wells Fargo. I'm like, hey, you guys, I'm going to Wells Fargo. This is what they're going to ask you for. So I created the 7 things to start your business list. The ugliest meme you will ever lay your eyes on. And that sucker went viral because I told them, this is why I did this. This is why I did that, right?
Yep.
Now, I think
based on your experience.
Based on the experience of starting with the checklist.
Yeah, exactly. The foundation.
Yeah, the foundation.
Yes, exactly.
But
don't do that. Hold on. Don't do that. So we had a back and forth. Right?
On live.
We had a back and forth.
This is documented, so you guys can go back and watch the live after you watch this. Go ahead.
We had a back and forth. What I stated and my belief is, so a lot of us, especially, we're new to wealth, right? But I say a lot of us black and brown people, we're very, very new to money and wealth. And I think a lot of times we go around learning these things in different ways, like from different people, from experiences. But a lot of times we don't learn the foundational methods or principles on how to build wealth. It takes us a while to learn that later after all the mistakes we made through our experience. So my opinion is if a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old comes to me, I think we need to start teaching them the foundational principles to build upon that'll strengthen their experience and mitigate mistakes as they build. Like there's certain foundational rules and principles to learn on how to grow a business, on how to build wealth, on how to fix your credit and get it right. And then knowing those, you can build from there.
I agree.
And based on what you said, right, is that the approach you took?
I agree. I think that...
I have a different...
So let's hear Tev's take. Okay.
So my take is I do understand that, but I also believe that learning from people that actually experienced it, right? So you can learn the foundational steps, but learn it from somebody that's experienced it. Because if you learn it from somebody that's experienced it, the foundational steps that you see in front of you, they might not show you that because of the path that they went down. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to follow that same path. You're going to take your own path. But I feel like learning from the person that experienced it is better than just learning the foundational steps.
Okay.
Because it can get screwed at that point. Because then now, you can learn how to do a SWOT and all those necessary things, but are you actually going to use that inside of the business? Yes. Most people, no, but I'm saying most people they would, but then you would still fail. But then there could be people that they just experienced it and they were able to be the 10% of the people that actually make it when it becomes entrepreneurs. And those are the people that are going to stay the 10% because they went through the experience. They didn't have to learn those foundational steps. They learned them later on, but that's in hindsight. That's not, I learned it from the beginning, and now, based upon my experience, that's the reason why I'm able to get to where I'm at.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. You're both right. It's just the order.
Exactly. That's it. That's exactly.
Okay, so you're learning from the experienced person.
Yes.
But the experienced person is better served if they gain some foundation and build onto their experience. They're going to be in a better position. This is why I say
exactly.
If I come in right now and I'm trying to build this building and I don't understand the basics in terms of the structure, I'm not saying that I can't eventually figure it out because guess what? Even the person who created the blueprint, at one point, he didn't have a blueprint, right?
Yes.
But it took a long time. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that just like those blueprints. You get those blueprints. We're going to modify along the way. We're going to adjust. We're going to pivot. We're going to do all kinds of things. But it's going to save me so much time if I can at least have the general basics and a guideline. So it's just like, give me a guideline. So right now, when we go to college and they give us, okay, these are your courses. This is the syllabus. This is how we're going to learn. That's different than somebody just jumping up and freestyle. We just gonna talk about anything and everything. We gotta have an order of operations. And
exactly.
So even the person experienced, guess what they developed? If you go to that experienced person now, I promise they could give you a guideline.
And
But
my
it's
argument,
a guideline in their own
no,
way.
it's not. My argument,
Yes,
for him,
it is, because if
No, it's not,
everybody's
Tez.
experience is different.
Well, I would say this.
And this is what this is what my argument is. I think this is the point he's missing. He keeps using the word experience. What she's saying is, yes, you're right. We're both right. But going freestyling and experience,
I didn't
let me
say
finish.
freestyler.
People always go back, no matter how successful you are, and they say, these are the guidelines I should have started out with. It took me this long to figure it out. But if I would have knew this in the beginning, and all the successful people would say that, if I would have knew this in the beginning, I would have been here. So what I'm saying is, now that we know that, we can teach people this is what you should know from the beginning. That's what I mean by foundation. We're both right, but it's, like she said, order of operations. And I think you're using the word experience to try to say, oh, they're doing it a little different based on their experience. Like she said, you should start with the blueprint. And that's what I mean about principles. There's certain principles that everybody should start with and grow that, like she said, into their experience. If you start that, you'll gain traction way faster. That's the argument.
Well,
you're right with experience.
Let him define experience.
Exactly.
So for me, experience is going through it, and let's just say you start a business, right?
Okay.
And you don't have the foundational steps. You don't know what a KPI, you don't know what SOPs, you don't know what any of those things are.
Okay.
But if you did work a job, you do get those experiences of learning what an SOP is. That doesn't mean that you know what a SOP is and how to build it, right?
Okay.
You don't know what a KPI is, but you worked the job, so you know what KPIs are.
Right.
So you don't know those foundational steps, but you've learned it, and the experience that you gained from learning it is different than you actually learning the actual foundational steps
So
of it.
what you've done is this: you've learned it, you just haven't labeled it. See, so you're
Okay,
you're
it
still
could be
doing
that.
it.
That's
You
what
just
I
haven't
mean by
labeled it.
that.
So right now, even if you and I, we may not know the term julienne, right? When you're cooking vegetables, we may not know that that's the fine strips.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
I know that dude. How does it?
I told you, it's Akanundrum. She gonna come up here with some things. Yeah.
So
What?
you may not know that that's the super tiny fine strips, right, of vegetables, right? But if I go in there and this is my recipe and I show you, okay, get this little thing, we cut it up real tiny like this. You're like, cool, okay. This is my favorite part of college too, going as an adult. I would go in because I'm a conceptual learner. I know concepts through and through. My mind is very logic. I'm a fill in the blank. So because of that, when I went to college, they're explaining something, and then they say, oh, that's called the burden of representation. I'm like, oh, that's the name of it? Oh, I've been on that. I've been on what that was.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So guess what?
Okay, that's exactly what I'm doing.
That's
Yes.
it's just the labeling of the thing.
Yes.
But guess what? If you taught me how to do that and you said this, and then I go to culinary school and they said, we're going to julienne, you're like, what's that? And then they show you like, oh yeah, I've been doing that. Bitch.
Yeah, bitch, you not
But
big
see,
into the
so
fire.
that's what I'm saying. It's literally the same thing, but I get you. You're like, I didn't know what it was called, but I was doing it. But guess what? You were still doing it.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying, and that's why I kept saying, I'm not saying that he's wrong in that. I'm just saying that when we become this 10% of people that are actually successful in business, it's not because we learned what the foundational steps were. It's because we just did it because we had to. You get what I'm saying? So we learned it through experience, but that doesn't mean that we knew the foundational steps. We just, like you said, knew how to do it because we had to do it.
Yeah,
And that's the case.
I think just not to move on after this.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. A lot of us know how to do it, but we don't understand
Yes.
how or why we're doing it.
I could say that.
Right.
I could
So-
absolutely agree with that.
And I'm just saying, understanding it first will make us 10 times better in knowing how to do it.
Now,
But
and I'm gonna say that's different. I'm gonna say that's different for different people.
And that's
Because
exactly what I'm about to
some
say.
people like me, I'm a tinkerer. So I'm a hands-on girl.
Yes.
My husband, he gonna pull that instruction manual out. He about to read all the instructions. He about to say this out he gonna count all the pieces. But guess what happens with me? I'm like, damn it, wait, what is that? I gotta go back to the manual now. I actually waste more time
No,
right? No, so no,
that's
no,
what
no,
I'm
no,
saying.
no,
I
listen
understand,
to
but
me.
you're saying, but
Okay.
what, all
But
right.
guess what? I still couldn't learn it that way. And guess what? Even though I'm wasting my time,
Yes.
it won't matter because I'm not going to process it that way.
And
so I still
that's
got
what
to
I'm
do
saying.
the tinkering. So when you say like, well, this is a blanket approach to how we need to teach, it's not. Some of us, we got to actually go through the nuances. Now, because my brain tinkers, for example, when my husband, he tried to put me on ChatGPT in like 2022, right? And I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, it's a little bit whatever, right? I get on it and he's doing it. And I mean, my husband's probably, I married the smartest man I know, period. Smartest man I could ever find. He's damn near savant level.
Right.
Like, call him if you got to phone a friend. But he actually pressures and puts the pressure on GPT way before other people. But when I got on GPT, and he saw what I was doing with it, he said, wait, how the hell? Like, you've been on this joint like 3 weeks, and I'm already freaking it because I'm a freak it because I'm a tinkerer.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm a conceptual learner. Once I get the concept, I'm about to do stuff ain't nobody doing because I'm not just following the rule book. So I feel you.
Yes.
But I also understand there's other elements in time where I have wasted so much money, so much time, giving myself headache after headache. Because guess what? If I would have just read the damn thing, it was right there. And I'm like, and so I get both.
But that doesn't mean the same success you would have had could come from that. Because what can happen is, right, and this is just even with putting things together, because I'm a person that I actually read the instructions when I'm putting something together, but I know conceptually how it should go together. So it's easy for me to do. Like I'll read maybe the first 2 steps and I'll understand everything else after, and I don't even have to look at the instruction books any longer. Right? So like last night, right, I'm putting up a TV, and I know conceptually where I'm supposed to put it, and I have to put it into a beam, right? And I know that most beams are 16 inches off the center, so I can go either way, right or left, right? But if I read the book, it would have took me more time, and maybe I would have gone down the same route of thinking that, hey, I know that the beams are 16-inch off center.
Yeah.
So when it comes to an entrepreneur that gets to being that successful person, yes, in hindsight they can look back and say, yo, if I would have just read the instruction manuals, or I would have had the foundational steps, yeah, I probably would have been better.
Right.
But you probably wouldn't have, because what can happen is, and the same thing with me putting the TV up, if I didn't know where that beam was, I would have had to then continue to drill holes to figure out where I'm at. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to persevere, but it could also mean that I could just quit at some point.
Right. I mean,
because
it's just, yeah.
because
But
now
it's
I'm
business.
going down that route
But
of
see-
doing the same thing over and over, and I'm not gaining any success from it.
Right.
So, but if I would have done it my way, then me knowing that where the beam is, then I know exactly how I can get to where my success is much faster.
I'll just say 2 quick points.
Yeah.
I did
And then we can close
I built
on
a
that part.
whole home organizer system. Built it all the way, got all the way to the end, and realized that I was missing some of the final screws.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, guess what? I'm like, wait, where is this piece? But had I done that, putting those components out,
Yeah.
I still would have saved myself time. Still would have, because I had to take it back
Right.
and rebuild it.
Right.
And at some point, we got to stop doing that. Like there's one, like at this point now, I'm building, but I also have to now learn from that, because at some point we will now start wasting more time. We will be wasting more money because mistakes are costly.
I can say
so we
that.
can get it, early. In terms of perseverance, I'm gonna just be real with you. When it comes to business, if you don't have the wherewithal, it's best that you jump on out anyway. It would actually be the best thing for you, because you have to have to stick to it to maintain.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's what's so great about you, right? Because especially in this day and age where people, for whatever reason, we've advanced, lack critical thinking. They need, get up, put your pants on, put your belt on. They need a step by step for whatever reason to be successful nowadays. Back in the day, I feel like the kids and what was taught was a little bit more critical thinking. We could figure it out. What we call is quote unquote common sense, however you want to call it. And what you're doing is you're actually creating these blueprints, creating these step-by-step guides. You're leaving no stone unturned to be successful. Something you say you got coming up, you have a challenge coming up.
Right.
Break down what you're doing with that challenge.
And so with those steps in mind, right? Because I don't want people to also become, there's a phrase that we use, and it's called paralysis of analysis, right? So I don't want people to get too far into their head, right? Where they're over analyzing. Because see, that also becomes a problem. Anything in extremity is a problem, right? So if you get this checklist person, which I've seen, and they are checklist before they will actually take action and movement, that's a problem. And then you got the person who's like, well, I ain't reading nothing, bro. I'm just about to just put it in.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Right.
So
yes.
really what it is that we definitely for fact need like a healthier balance of both. Okay?
Yes.
So for me, what I'm doing with the challenge is I wanted to really understand, because I'm always looking at the big problems and the big numbers and trying to figure out what is the issue. Okay.
Yes.
And I don't like to do too many of the small problems, the nuanced problems. I like to really look back and zoom out and say, okay, what is the issue? So
Like reverse engineer.
right. So one of the things, like when we said, okay, 41% of small business owners, what's a real big, like, topical approach that we can take that puts a little less burden on the person? So now I'm looking at another problem. We're always talking about the failures in Black-owned business, So I like to go back to the origin, and this is what I've gathered, right, to say, I think this is a critical point that we're missing out on. 96% of Black-owned businesses are sole proprietors.
Yeah.
Single-owned, operated, no employees. That's a big number. 80% of Black-owned businesses fail within the first 18 months. I believe that there is a correlation. I cannot define causality, but I do think that there is a correlation of doing it alone, being by yourself, especially when you have the addition of not historically coming from entrepreneurs or that language or that experience or that knowledge, right? So I think that in of itself is causing us to struggle more in business. Then if you look at the other side of that and say, let me do some comparison. Businesses with one or two or more partners, they succeed more than solopreneurs. They're more investable. They get 3 times more funding. They're 36% more investable than a solopreneur. Most investors won't even touch you if you're just a single founder. Right? So I see that if investors are seeing the benefits and partnership, we got to start partnering. Right? That's number
collaboration
one.
Over competition.
We got to start partnering. And so then, of course, I have to look at why don't we partner? Why aren't we finding partnerships and collaboration and things like that? So there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of trust and emotions and this and this and this. But at the end of the day, if we were to resolve most of those, you know what you fundamentally have to have in place? Your systems. You have to have your systems in place. Even if I wanted to partner with Brandon right now about my business, if I can't show Brandon the system and I got to talk Brandon through it, this is going to be a struggle, right? Brandon may be turned off like she don't have it together, okay? An investor would say the same thing. If I don't have this blueprint laid out, I couldn't even sell my business if I wanted to. So I got to get the system. So I said, let's go back to the thing. Now, you guys tell me this. I've asked this question. I'm going to tell you 95% of the people say the same thing, but I'm going to see if y'all get the same sort of result. Right now, how many single operating businesses do you know that are like really, really struggling and they need help?
I mean, a lot.
They like a staff member, somebody to help them.
A lot.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. If you right now had the money to send anybody to their business and you said, I got you, sis, what you need? I need a virtual assistant. I need somebody to do this, do that. Okay, boom. I'm paying for her for the next week. She's coming to you.
For the next week?
The whole week. She gonna come
Okay.
sit with your business for the whole week, or she coming with you for the day. What do you think most of them would say in terms of resistance? Do you say would think like, yeah, come on, I got her, I'm ready to go? Or would it be some sort of a resistance?
It might be a resistance because, one, you're only saying for a week, and two, because, I mean, it's because you're trying to help them do it.
And I think based on our experience, right, they need all this help, but you send them to them, they don't have nothing for them to do, or they don't know what to tell them to do.
You know what they're going to say? It's going to take me longer to teach her
Yeah.
than it would for me to do it myself.
Exactly.
I promise you.
Exactly.
95% of the time, that's what they say. They get stressed
Yeah.
at the thought of ringing someone in. Because they like, oh my God, now I got to carve out time. I got to show her. And then even if they do it, they just make them shadow them. Okay, did you go here? Then you do this, then you do that. That's the very first issue. Because if you can't get helped, you can't even hire. You can correctly, right? So if you can't do that, how you can grow? And if you don't have that system, how can you partner? And if you don't have that system, how can you invest? If you don't have that system, how can you, right?
And this is one of the things, like I said, we're both right. But this is one of the things that
he brought it back.
No, we're both right, but I got to bring up the points that it takes a while to learn that with experience. But
See?
I read that and somebody told me that about creating systems and creating processes before you hire. That took us a while to learn and figure out, and we made a lot of mistakes doing that.
Yeah.
If I would have had the book that I read on how to do that first, I probably wouldn't have fired or hired a bunch of employees that we already did.
Okay.
I would have created because right now we teach people how to access capital and how to scale. So we teach you how to set up your LLC, how to set up your S Corp, how to get the capital, how to implement it, create a business plan. So beforehand, any entrepreneur, any business owner, if I could teach them, create a business plan, create videos and systems on what you do before you go out and get an employee, create process maps. So when you come in and bring somebody, they can follow through easily and be successful. Because a lot of times it's not the employee. It's really the business owner who doesn't have the path for that employee to be successful.
Right. And then to Tev's point, though, guess what? You had to gain experience first.
I know he's going to say that. Yeah. I know he's going to say.
Okay.
That's why I said we're both right.
Yes,
We're both right.
And he not only learned it from there, he also learned it from his job that he worked at for almost 18 years. And you gained the experience of being a manager to be able to hire or to even think to hire.
You're right.
Or to even think to interview or to even think to have those questions to interview.
No, you're right.
So
I know.
I said we're both right.
I know.
That job created systems that he was able to.
And that he was.
See? I got y'all.
It's like you said, just the order. That's all it is. I'm just saying the order. That's all it is.
This is why you need a partnership.
Exactly.
This right here is exactly why we need partnership, because we need balanced perspectives.
Yes.
Right? This is fact. This is true. And that is fact. And that is true. And if we merge those two things together, look at how much of a benefit, because here's the thing. You have some people that are just writing it out and following a list. And when they go to do it, it ain't working. Right? They actually are like, oh, and that's why I'm telling people you have to do trial runs. You have to do dress rehearsals, right? Because if you can't just go by somebody else's checklist, you got to actually go through the flow. I tell people that all the time with their business. They'll give me their website to review. I go through their review up and their website up and down. I'm like, that link ain't working. You know this? Did you know I got to go here? Then I got to go back. Nah, you built this joint. Did you go through it? Did you go through your customer journey? No, I had a professional. See, because you just found a website template and thought that was cool. You have to actually go through it. So you cannot skip that part. You see what I'm saying? So now what I'm looking at is to say, okay, fundamentally, if I can solve for this basic problem, we can expand, and that solves for everything else. So it opens you up conceptually to solve for everything else. So the challenge that I'm doing is your first hire. Right? So it's going to be a 7-day challenge in which everybody will be able to just imagine, who do you want to hire? You just tell me who you want to hire. Cool. Right. We're going to start with the essentials. Give me the job description. We're going to do the job role, the job requirements. And now I have an HR person she's 21 years in, so she's an expert in HR. She's going to we're going to take the application, create the application, requirements, roles, and the task and what you need to do. Correct. Then the HR person is going to guide us into compliance, right? What are you making sure that you're in compliance with your ask, making sure that you're in compliance with knowing how to interview the person, okay? So now we got the application, we got the role. Then the next thing we create from there is the orientation and the training manuals and the training videos. And we have our HR compliance person as well. Then from there, it's employee maintenance. Performance reviews, whether they are good or bad, having those templates, right, and those legal things in. What can you do? What can you say? Having the HR person. And then the final step is if you have to exit the employee. So do they exit on their own? What does that look like legally? What do you have to provide for them? Or if you have to lay them off or terminate them, what does that look like? And so we have our HR person guiding us the entire time for this challenge. So by the time you leave, you will have an application for your first hire. You will have your orientation together, your training manual, your training video, your performance review, and your exit forms and your legal forms based on your state. And so that to me is, if you can get that part, now you're ready to onboard. So if somebody says, I'm ready to come in, if I teach you the fundamentals on that, if you did it for, say, like a graphic designer, you now know how to duplicate that for your virtual assistant. You now know how to duplicate that process.
Right.
And so that's the 7-day challenge, is, getting them to be able to successfully be helped.
And when does it start?
This is going to be week after next. What I said, the
May 22nd.
23rd. I think it's 23rd, 22nd. I gotta look on there because I did change the date.
Okay.
So I'll look on there and change it, but I'll let you know exactly what the date is. But yeah, I think that's absolutely essential.
Right.
And
it is.
she's offering too the services of a drop-in HR. So say you have to fire somebody and you need an HR to come in for 15-minute Zoom with you. How many of y'all are seeing these people on social media recording their firings, recording their layoffs, right? So now you really got to make sure that HR is there to protect you from wrongful termination, or have the HR sit in, because you may not know that you can't ask certain questions in that interview process. So she's also offering that drop-in service. So you may not be able to afford HR or retain HR, but just having that drop-in HR is going to be a game changer.
And you're really the prerequisite before they get to us, because I don't know how many new business owners come to us. I need 50K. I need 100K. I need 250,000. All right, you need all this funding, you need all this capital, but do you know what to really do with it?
Yep.
And this is why they get all this capital, get all this startup money, and they fail, because you never knew how to handle 100,000, 250,000. But you get this capital, you don't have the plan on how to hire, how to train an employee. That's what you need first, that business plan, that expertise, before you go out here and spend this 50K, 100K, 200K.
And to Tev's point, I said that on the post the other day. Here's a fundamental issue for us, our community and business. Mm-hmm. We often go from employee to entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Right away.
We skip the management step. We don't become managers. We've never seen a profit and loss statement.
Yeah, she's right.
Well, no, I did.
You became a manager.
Yeah, so I was
talking about you,
though.
No.
But how many of us?
I'm gonna say, I don't know what you're talking about.
You're talking about you.
Guess what? You do a better job at it. But how many have never managed employees before you want to now become the boss?
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the boss. See, a lot of us came from abusive situations where we had immature management, or you had toxic customer base. So you've been abused as an employee in your workplace. You carry that into your business.
Yep.
Ain't nobody about to talk to me.
Yep.
I'm the boss. You ain't going to tell me this is my
happen.
thing. So we have that energy, right, of like, nah. We think that's what boss means. And so we have that negative energy that comes in as negative customer service. And so because of that, to me, those are some core essential areas that if you backtrack it, you would say, wow, that's really some of the root of what causes us to misstep, because we've never managed people, let alone manage the profit and loss statement and manage the income at a larger, or at least a mid-level, before we go to the final level. Right. And so those are the things that I think are essential, and those are be the things to me that will now become a determiner of success for our businesses.
Nah, that's incredible.
She giving us the essentials to really be a millionaire.
Yes, and we gonna get to that. We gonna get to that
because to be honest, even with me and Brandon, like you said, we have spent a lot of money. We have gone through a lot of different people and a lot of different experiences, and learned a lot of foundational steps, and doing those things now. And thank God we had our first 7-figure year last year, and obviously looking to do more. Right, so. Like even this year, we're now looking into more foundational things that we could do in the business, right? Hiring more people, looking for different type of people, right? In order for us to be able to do so. So,
and can I also say for you guys, I want to encourage people who are doing well. You can still go back and learn these steps, because a lot of us, we've done this organically, without knowing even the basic steps. Imagine if you now go and strengthen those in.
Yeah.
like that's going to be an accelerant for your business. Because if you can do that well fractured, imagine what you could do
And that's-
with putting a structure in.
Yes,
And I think at
yes.
that point, there's more of a need and a desire to learn it because you have more at stake now. Now you actually have employees. Now you actually are like, okay, wait a minute. People are doing wrongful termination, baby. People short on their cash. They're looking for any little bag that they can get their hands on.
Yes.
And so you know that you're actually more vulnerable the more successful you become. So now you do need to put those protections in place. You're like, you know what? I do need this HR person here with me. I do. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
we've been getting by the grace of God a lot of times, to be honest with you. A lot of the time, we're like, that could have been bad, you know. And so I wanted to say that too. It's not just for people who are starting. I think actually some of the people who would benefit the most, to be honest with you, are the people who've already started.
And
Because
Exactly.
they will have more appreciation and they understand it and they understand the need for it.
It's like you literally took the question out because that's literally what I was just about to get to. I was about to ask, do you think that people like us, 7-figure entrepreneurs or even 6-figure entrepreneurs, do you think we should be attending this challenge? Because
Yep.
But you literally just explained. So I mean,
Yeah,
took my question.
as an entrepreneur and a business owner, that's what people need to understand. You never stop learning, you never stop educating, you never start leveling up.
Never stop grinding.
Because from 100,000 to get to 1 million, that's a different break point. That's different levels of education. That's different levels of systems. That's different levels of setup. From 1 million to 10 million, that's a different level. From 10 million to 25 million, it's a different level. So you have to keep learning, pushing, and educating yourself every year, every month to keep going. Because
day.
if you just stay stagnant, eventually you're going to go down.
Yep.
So you got to keep pushing to go up.
Yes.
So
and
I
we
think-
have to go back and look for those areas of inadequacy.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times we just keep going for so long, and then by the time you look up, it's like, okay, it's so it feels like it's going to be so much work to do. We avoid it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the problem.
That's the problem, right?
I feel like-
I also feel like for some people, if you're in the position to DIY, if not DFY,
Yeah.
right? Let it get done for you. We have to do that now. And that's why I'm dealing with people now, because we go from being this like hands-on, scrap, building. And then eventually we've got to give ourselves the freedom to grow, which means, you know what, you handle this, structurize it, get everything together, and then I'll take it from there too.
Yeah, that's my fault. That's why I feel like baby boomers, and then you can get to your question. I feel like this is why baby boomers are selling their business now, right? Because I feel like a lot of times they did whatever they did to get to wherever they're at now, right? And like Brandon said, they're no longer learning. So what's starting to happen is they're starting to decline a little bit. So
Yes.
they're like, hey, as we're declining a little bit, we might as well sell this thing to somebody that can come in, that learns this business, that understands it, and that can come in and just give a refresher on this business and actually grow it to where the potential it has to go. So I feel like that's why a lot of these baby boomers are selling. So I've also saw something. It was a study that most people that are taking over baby boomer businesses, a lot of them are still failing. Yes. Because they don't have either the
system.
Yeah.
I was about to say, because that's a business opportunity. Because these were
It is.
these were pen and pad people.
Yes.
So imagine if somebody comes in and has to do a whole digitalization of their business, and then you exit.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's what's going on a lot in the marketplace right now. I think that's an issue. A lot of us are selling to us on just DIY, right? So a lot of us are getting rich on education, and we're selling DIY, but we're not selling why we're rich. It's really creating systems, and we have a team, and we have all of this behind. So why are we not selling and teaching that?
People don't want to learn that.
But we're
Well, no,
I think
So
that's
hold
what-
up.
I
It's
think.
the
Oh, let me
service.
finish.
Not
Let me
to learn
finish.
that, but the service.
That's the marketing.
Yes.
That's what
Yep.
that's what
That's-
we're getting
that's what I meant to-
transformed in
that's
our
what I meant to
mind.
say.
We're
Yes,
getting
the
pushed.
marketing.
Yo, DIY, do this. But how you're making 7-8 figures is not DIY.
Facts.
So why are you teaching us to be stuck in the DIY system?
And-
We can only go but so far. We're gonna go right here with DIY. To get to here, it's a whole nother level. So I think we need to start transforming on how to really build instead of how to just sit here as a solopreneur.
Right. And then you had a point, Tevin, and I was going to say something on here.
Yeah, because that's. I mean, to be honest, that's what took us from our 6-figure to 7-figure. Like we had to get a team. We were too much clients were coming in, too much servicing. That all of that had to happen, and the marketing of people teaching that DIY. That's that. So when we had that conversation about the 16-year-old kid, right, during the live, one thing I said, and I mean you can agree or disagree with it. It was that the 16-year-old kid, we can come in and teach him the foundational steps. But if he's looking at the person that he actually idolizes, his head is automatically going to turn. No matter what. It could be the basketball player he wanted to be, or it could be the person that's driving the car he wants to drive, or has the jewelry that he wants. Their heads are going to turn. So even if we teach them that foundational step at 16, a lot of times they're not going to learn it because they automatically see something else that they actually want. And that's where you figure out who's that 10%, because it's only the 10% that's actually going to sit there and still listen to you on those foundational steps instead of their head turning towards those people. So that was something I wanted to bring up.
Well, then you also have to kind of, for the 16-year-old, I think, too, we have to manage our expectations correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a 16-year-old, his frontal cortex is not even finished developing.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even have that. So we're coming to him, compiling on all of this logical information. He doesn't even have the brain to process that. Right? Now, they're very smart, don't get me wrong. But to really see ahead, like in that point, they're still in the moment. Yes. They're not in the future.
Yes.
And then if you deal with our 16-year-olds, they have something that I was going to work on a paper called terminal mode. They don't even think they're going to live past 25. So when we're coming at them with all of these foundational steps and all of this stuff, and we're talking about growth, they don't even think they're going to be here a lot of times. So they're looking for the quick right now. I think that audience is better served for that conversation at 25 and over.
Do you feel that the 16-year-old that feel like they're not going to live past 25 is based upon the environment and the area that they're in, right? Because I know you come from California, mm-hmm. right? I can't say that a 16-year-old in New York is going to say the same thing compared to a person that may be in California, Inglewood, in those different areas, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot more violence there than maybe over here. So maybe a 16-year-old here might think they're going to live past that 25, but compared to over there. So how would you approach that?
But I think that they're still exposed to it via social media.
Yeah.
They
Mm-hmm.
see it all the time,
yes.
right? So it's starting to permeate. And it's starting to become
especially with a lot of school shootings.
Exactly.
Like we see way more school shootings now than before. And maybe that was the norm before, but we just never saw it.
You didn't have access to see it.
Exactly.
And so that is making it spread more. So it's making that fear spread more.
Yeah.
But I think that kids at that age, they want the aspiration. And if you can get them hooked on an aspiration, and you do what I call sipping the medicine and the candy, right? So mm-hmm. I'm going to bring you in on that aspiration. I'm going to give you all the flash you want, everything that's going to turn that head, mm-hmm. right? And then I'm going to try to implement and drop in certain things as well. But what I'm not going to do is try to force you to learn the way that I think you need to learn. I'm going to meet you where you are and then try to implement what I can and what you can handle so I can manage my expectations of you, right? And then so forth, right?
Yeah,
but in terms of what you were talking about, Brandon, I think now, I told people, if you look over COVID, there were two words that rocked the world: non-essential. This was the first time we ever had a global job insecurity. I'm talking about people who have been working for 20 years was all of a sudden like, what you mean I'm not essential? Like, so, right? So there was the fear. Now, prior to that, you had people who were doing their businesses and then they still working and they was like, I told y'all little job people, see, y'all need to do what I'm doing. And that was the big shift of like, maybe that Forex guy is right. Maybe that trucking guy is right. Maybe that guy is right. So that came that information era. Mm-hmm. And that was the learning. That was the DIY. I'm at home. I got money. I ain't got nothing but time and I'm terrified. So that's why all the courses were selling, as they should. People were sitting at home. Now, people are not burnt out, learned out. I have people who have bought courses from me in 2022 who coming back now talking about, oh, that course I bought. They're right there. And I'm talking about they done bought 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40 courses that I know they haven't opened up. I know they haven't done or they haven't even completed. And so now that the job market is laying off, they're going back revisiting some of them courses like, yo, what did I do? Right? I need to find a way to make some money. Right. So it's the ebb and the flow. So I look more at the big picture. Now I think it's time for businesses who were in the teaching to start being in the execution business. Now you have the systems, so it's okay to still have a small tier, and that's really now the throwaway items, right? Here's learning, here's the course,
yep.
Right?
But
for those who are ready to execute, that have been burnt out, they've been run amok, they tired, they dragged, they like, I don't have time. that's the done for you. I think that's really more of the motto. And you can break that up into a hands-on, we got everything, and then it can also be a done with you model, right? For the lower tier person who's like, okay, we follow through with you, we check in on you. You can decide what that looks like. But I think that's the new opportunity, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. There is tiers to things, right?
Yeah.
Because business ownership, successful business ownership, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that's
Right.
just a fact. There's certain, like he said earlier, percentages. There's only a certain percent that's going to be managers. Only a certain percent that's going to be bosses. There's a certain percent that's going to be workers, right? So with that being said, what are some of the things, because it's the Millionaire Essentials podcast, right? We like to talk about scaling. What are some of the foundational or things, I would say 5 things you would say will make somebody a successful entrepreneur or a millionaire?
Okay, I'll give you 4.
4, okay. Cut it down.
The reason why it's 4...
Mount Rushmore is 4.
right.
Yep.
The reason why it's 4 is because it was a situation I thought about a long time ago. So I already have it.
Okay.
And as I looked over and I tried to analyze what would be the core essentials that will go across every single business, I do not care what size. And I have carved them into 4. So the first pillar is the blueprint pillar. That is admin systems operations. That is what you absolutely essentially need. If you have an idea in your mind, in order for that to become a business, it's got to come out and it's got to actually, regardless, you got to write it down. You got to put some pen to paper. You got to figure that structure out. What does that look like? How do you service that customer? Admin system operation, you got to do that part. Now, once you have that together, okay, this is the business I'm going to do. The next thing that you have to do is you have to communicate that business to the world. That's the branding, marketing, graphics.
So this is step
pillar.
2. This is step 2.
System 2, right?
Uh-huh.
Those are the action types, right? So that is the people who are going to take action. Those are your sellers, your movers, your shakers, your influencers, your motivators. But that's the element of your business that you have to take that part to, because you got to spread the word of the gospel, right?
Right.
Now, if you do that well, number 3 is you would go to your consumer psychology, customer service, PR pillar. Because if you brand that well, you get customers, somebody got to take care of them. So now
Yes.
you really got to focus and get that focal point on that customer service part and all of that. And then lastly, you have to measure your KPIs, your success, and you have to put certain protections in place. That is your finance, law, and tech pillar. You see? So now so those are the 4 pillars that I see. If you don't have one of those, I don't care how small your business is, you're going to fail. If you don't have your marketing, even as small as it may be, organic or whatever, but if you don't even know your brand voice, you know what question that most entrepreneurs fail? I ask them, what is your customer's problem and what is your unique solution? And they fail.
Yeah.
They get into, it takes them forever. They got to go around the mulberry bush. Well, see, so what and I'm like, that is a simple question. And you know what blows their mind, the ones who struggle with it? I say, have you ever heard of the Big and Tall men's clothing store? Yeah. I want you to pretend to be a sales rep for him. Let me ask you that question again. What is your customer's problem? And what is your unique solution? Oh, we got customers who are big and tall, and they can't get their clothes. So we sell. I said, well, why can you do that for that man that you don't even run his business, but you can't do it for yours?
Exactly.
Right. So see, it's some of those essential things. One, and I'm talking about people I know who are making 7, 8 figures, and they've even struggled with that. Like, I don't really have that. It's like they've just been kind of blessed and fortunate. They've been community or they have influence, but when they really go into doing their business, they're like, yo, I don't really have that essential branding or that messaging down. So admin systems operation, branding, marketing, graphics, consumer psychology, customer service, PR, and finance, law, and tech. And those are the 4 pillars: blue, red, yellow, green. Blueprint, action, nurturing, knowledge. And that is based off of the bank system. I didn't create it. It was created by Sherry Tree. But I overlaid, because I'm a conceptual learner. So I took bank and those personality types, kind of like DISC assessment, right? But it's better. It's flyer. She reverse engineered it. So taking that, and then I said, that's those pillars. That's those personality types. That even goes into how you hire. Some people will just come to you to get a job. If that person is a blueprint type personality and you hire them for an action type job, wrong person.
Yeah, wrong person.
Perfect
Right
example.
person, wrong job.
Perfect example of a mishire. A nurturer is a person who loves to share. That is your nonprofit, your warm hugger, your people person. They are out there. They know everybody, their mama's birthday. They know everybody's kids and everything. They walk in this room and they'll be like, hey, such and such, hey. So imagine you about to hire. You come out And Miss Shirley just, wooed everybody out there, right? Girl, let me give you the recipe. Okay, all right, best friends. You like, oh yeah, for sure, she on my sales team. Nurturers hate to sell.
Mm-hmm.
They hate selling. They are non-profit people. They are people over profit. They gonna give all your shit away. And girl, just go ahead, don't take it, baby. Go ahead, don't get a little discount. You're gonna be like, why is Miss Shirley not selling? Because Miss Shirley over there giving everything away. She don't like to sell. So like understanding the foundations of personality types, right? And they overlay because they go into operations and then making sure you're plugging in the right person. So that is part of my mentorship program, or my program now is Drum Circle. And I teach that. I give you the basics. So we start at the basics. First, you got to bank code yourself. Who are you? Then you got to bank code your business. Your business may have a different bank code. So those personality types, blueprint, action, nurture, and knowledge, we all have all four. It's the order of your codes. I'm a knowledge, nurturing, action, blueprint. You see what I'm saying? So it's that. So you got to know your business, and then we get into then the fundamentals and the pillars in sequential order.
She
bro.
blew my breath away.
This is a mentorship, right? I'm just
Right
sitting
here,
here
I ain't
listening.
gonna lie.
This is a mentorship right here. And she's right on point with it, like no hesitation. Like she's a walking mentorship, walking
For real.
book, walking encyclopedia. Like you're giving away a lot of gems. I hope people out there is going to be taking notes. You're giving away a lot.
Can I give them bank? Can I just tell them what bank is?
Yes. And so tell them. So
right before you do that, because Brandon did this with us. Was it last year where you had us read Who Not How? Yeah.
That
was something that really helped us inside of our business, because figuring out who the right person, wrong job, right person, right? With him being in the GATE program, apparently I ain't know.
Yes.
Now he gifted and talented and whatnot. But anyways, that helped us in our business. So if you're out there, definitely read that book, Who Not How. Do you know the author?
I forgot the author top of my head.
But Who Not How, I think,
yeah.
Look it up, find it. That's definitely a great book, especially if you're starting business or you're currently in business. You need to read that book. That's amazing.
There's a bunch of books to read as far as systems. This is a walking book right here.
Yeah, right here.
But you was about to tell us.
Go to Akanundrum.
So I'll give you the easiest. I'll give you guys the quickest.
Because I was definitely going to forget that.
I'll give you guys the quickest understanding the bank. So people have taken Myers-Briggs, right? When you take Myers-Briggs, you take DISC, and you learn about yourself. Okay. And you may even learn other people, but you cannot.
What is DISC? What is DISC, though?
The
for
DISC
people that don't know.
assessment. So it's a personality assessment, and they
Yes.
put them into 4 different categories, just like Myers-Briggs. So are you an introvert, extrovert? There's all these different things. I'm technically an INTJ or ENTJ, depending on how I answer the question. I can't tell you what the hell INTJ and ENTJ. I remember extrovert, something's judgment. I don't remember, right? And Myers-Briggs, or your DISC assessment, right? You basically learn about you. And that's cool for you to understand your temperament, your tone, and everything. But your customer is not going to acquiesce to your personality type. You have to acquiesce to your customer. Your customer don't give a damn if you a Scorpio or was born under what moon. That does not matter. You need to know them. And so that's the difference with bank. Bank helps you to immediately identify in 60 seconds or less your customer's personality, or at least their dominant personality. So BANK is an acronym. It stands for Blueprint, Action, Nurturing, Knowledge. I love it because it's color coded. I'm old school. I like to match. I like colors, right? Symmetry. So blue, cold, steely. Action, red, hot, go get it. Nurture, warm, yellow, sunny. Knowledge, lasers, green, matrix curtain. You see? So it has that feel to it. There's an analogy of a box. So if you were a blueprint, you like to stay within the box. Okay? You don't like to go outside of the box. These are people who like systems, structures, rules, authority. They do not like to change things up. Tradition. They're the old school, like this is how it was been, this is how it goes, and we do it the same way all the time. Right? So that's your blueprint, and they are risk adverse. They do not like risk at all. Archetype, Warren Buffett. Okay? That's your standard blueprint.
Okay.
Now, your action, that is going to be your go-getter. He's actually the opposite of the blueprint. He eats risk for breakfast. He's outside of the box. If there's a box, ain't no box. He don't like no budgets. He don't like none of that old stuff. He like new, fresh, flashy. This is your mover, your shaker. When you see him, blueprint, conservative handshake. He want, a little high five, a little dap. You know what I mean? And so he wants a meeting courtside. He want VIP where the sexy girls at, where the sizzle at. Like, that's your action. And you're going to see your action when he walk in the room. Okay? He going to be dressed to the nines, probably got a lot of monograms on, some vanity print. you're gonna know who that is. But that is your
And like
influencer.
a green color vest or something like that, right?
It-
With no shirt under.
Yeah,
just-
yeah, you gonna see
Yeah.
him, and he probably, you know what I mean, gonna make sure.
That's how he, that's how he dressed.
You gonna make sure
yeah.
he gonna have on some Gucci shoes. You know
Oh
what
yeah,
I mean?
oh yeah, that's him all the way. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
she watched the last.
Yeah. Yep. That's him all the way.
Right? Or some Burberry. You
Yep,
know what I'm saying?
yep.
That's
Yep.
it right here.
Right
That's it right here.
Right. So
That's my man.
you're gonna see that action when they walk in the room, but that's the person who gets things done. That's the aspirational person that can influence the room, right? But they don't like the details. Don't be giving them all too much paperwork and all that. They like you handle all that, I go out here and make it happen. Okay? Now your nurturer is the opposite of your action. If there's a box, I would say your nurturer is going to gift wrap it or recycle it. Your nurturer does not care about who you know. They want to know what you care about. They care about values, people, things like that. What is going to happen to the climate in the next 10 years? They care about the community. They will give everything away. These are your social, butterflies in terms of people, right? Archetype, I forgot to give you for action. Kanye, Donald Trump. Anybody likes competition, winning, stuff like that? Your nurturer archetype, Tabitha Brown, because that's her business, right? That is she the final nurturer boss. If you got to get past all the nurturers, like Tabitha Brown gonna be on the steps like,
Yeah, I'm right here.
right. That is your nurturing spirit. And then the last code is knowledge. So they're the opposite of the nurturer. Whereas the nurturer is like, how I feel, and I just want to express that. Am I true? The knowledge is gonna be like facts over feelings. I don't give a damn about your facts. Your feelings. What are the facts? So that's your logic, your mastery, the person who's going to do stats and data and charts and graphics and understanding universal truths. They don't really care too much about each individual personal story. It kind of drains them. They want to scale back and look at what is the broader truth. They want to know, what is the data? What does that say? What are the indicators? And so those are the people they hate, like emotional people driven by emotions and unintelligent people who feign intelligence and lying conversation, shit like that. They can't stand that. So you don't want to get into an argument with a knowledge.
Who's the archetype for that?
That would be, say, your Elon Musk or your Akanundrum or your 19 Keys, right? Those kinds of people. So
Gotcha.
Again, we have all of these. It's the order of the codes. And so it's a how does it look? Because if I just said a knowledge is the opposite of a nurturer, then how does that show up? Well, it looks like somebody like me who gives knowledge to my community because I care. And then I'm
nurture.
Action because I'm all, you see me, right? When I'm passionate about something. And I'm lastly blueprint because I was like the most scattered. I don't want to do none of that kind of structure. I like building a system, but don't have me run it for 2 or 3 years. I'm going to be bored. You know what I'm saying? I need to go build the new thing.
Yes.
So that's, See, knowing that. So what does that look like? How could you identify that in your customer?
I was just about to ask, how can we identify that between us? What would
It's
you believe?
easy. Yeah. Well, we have a test too for it. You have a test for it.
I would.
You can actually
I
go
did-
get
I would-
I
wanna
believe.
do it.
I believe I know the answers to that already.
What's the answers?
You got to ask the question.
No, wait.
No,
How about
what you
this?
mean?
I'm asking which
instead
one
of
do you think you are?
Because y'all have a bias too, right? So instead of you two,
Yeah,
let's try
we
this.
would-
I just want to see how fast you were able to pick this up if this was a customer. So I'm gonna do a test. Okay.
Okay.
So you work at a cologne counter in a store. Okay. You're gonna sell me some cologne or perfume or whatever. Okay. I walk in and I have on some Balenciaga shoes and pants and a shirt. Am I a blueprint, an action, a nurture, or knowledge?
You as the customer?
I'm head to toe Balenciaga.
Oh, you're an action.
Boom. What cologne or perfume are you gonna sell me? You don't have to tell me the exact name. Just tell me what it smell like or the price point.
Something loud. Something that
something
pops.
loud.
Something
Boom,
loud.
loud, pops. Most people say that the most expensive thing on the shelf. And that's what I'm going to tell you, nobody got this.
Right.
Okay. Now, let's suppose I walk in. I'm a new customer. Okay. And I have on white button-down shirt, some clean slacks, got a little bob haircut. Am I a blueprint, an action, or a knowledge, or a nurture?
I think you're more of a
Knowledge.
blueprint.
A blueprint.
Those are so close together, and I'll show you how to differentiate because everybody gets confused on those too.
Okay.
But yes, I'm a blueprint. What scent or tone are you going to sell me?
Something that's a little bit more calmer.
Boom.
Some subtle. Yes.
Now, if I walk in and I got on my nice little locks all over, my little hair wrap, I got my bright colors on, and I walk in and I'm smiling from ear to ear, and I'm like, hey, baby.
Nurture.
Nurture. What's going to smell like?
Something that's sweet.
There we go.
Very
Some
sweet.
people say
Yeah.
earthy, floral. Do you see how you immediately understood your customer psychology right away?
Yeah.
Now think about your product line. So if you got something that's geared more towards the nurture, so this just helps you to tailor your pitch, which means you got to understand your entire product line through the lens of bank. So if I'm on the phone with a customer and he's asking me questions, I can't see him. I can still code him because I can hear that question. So, hey, Brandon, I heard that you guys, saw you on the Millionaire Show. And everybody's talking about they're a millionaire now. You know what I mean? And listen, I've tried things before. I've lost some money and such and such. How do I know that you really know what you're doing? That's great if you were like, if you can visually see the person. So it's like, well, how can I code them if I can't see them? So if they're calling on the phone, then what you're going to do is listen to their questions, because their question is going to be indicative of what they value and what is a priority to them. So remember, blueprints are risk adverse. So if I call Brandon, I say, hey, friend of mine told me you guys are millionaires or whatever, and try to help people make money. But I mean, like, what proof do I have? Like, how do I know that you know what you're doing? What personality is that? Is that a blueprint, an action, a nurture, or knowledge?
I would say
That's an
knowledge.
action.
That's knowledge.
It's an action.
It's knowledge. Blueprint.
Blueprint.
I'm confusing blueprint and knowledge.
Yep, and I'm gonna tell you how to do
so.
that. Right? Blueprints are risk adverse. So anytime you hear a skeptic,
Okay.
Okay.
There you
never
go.
forget
Gotcha.
that. If he's skeptical,
Yes.
he
You're
don't
right.
want to lose his money. He's risk adverse. So if he's questioning your education and how do I know, and it gets confusing because you're like, but that feels knowledgey, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to explain that, right? So if you hear that question, then you need to lead with your blueprint rebuttal.
Okay.
So that is, okay, well, yeah, I completely understand. Listen, the market is saturated, right? And this is why my team and I, we have get to the like 25 years experience or a combination of 50 years experience. I've done this, I've done that. You want to prove. I have a degree in this, I have this. They like anything that proves. We have over this many customers, satisfaction rate. We have a 4-star rating, a 5-star rating. Those are the things. If you have insurance or guarantees, they love that. If you got a 30-day money back guarantee, oh my God, you got them. You see what I'm saying? If we don't satisfy, you get your money back. Solved, right? If I called you up, Brandon, and I said, well, I'm really concerned. I keep hearing everybody talking about generational wealth. I don't come from that, right? But I do got a new grandbaby, and I'm really worried about what I can leave for them. All this is confusing for me. Blueprint, action, nurture, and knowledge. Nurturer. So you want to connect with that person in that human light, right?
That's the person that I usually connect with the most.
And what do you
easiest.
usually, if I was a nurturer and I called you, like, and I said, I'm really worried about that, like, what would be some of the things that you would like lead in with?
Well, I'm when I come down to that side, I'm just being honest. I go super nurture.
Yeah.
So then
Yes.
at that point, I'm like, well, I don't want you to do anything that, you can't afford or you can't be able to
Yes.
handle yourself, right? This is something that you have to take these risks. You have to take these rewards. I mean, the risk to get to the reward in order for you to get to where you want to get to. In order for you to get out of that space of having your, having what's the word I'm trying to say? But just understanding that if you want to get to that point of having the time and the free time to have with your child now, you
Good
won't
point.
be able to do that with doing what you're doing currently at your 9 to 5.
Yeah, so you're connecting. The first thing you said was, I don't want you to do anything that you
Yeah,
can't
that's what I
afford.
typically do.
You put people over profit. That was
Yes.
the first thing,
Yeah.
winner. Then you round that back up with, this is going to help you spend time with your children. That's what she cares about.
Yes.
You see that? So it's like, back to Tails' way of learning. I knew that. I just didn't know that was the name of it, right? I've been doing that. See? So it's
See how
that.
she broke down the principle and foundation that make us understand it better?
Yeah.
See that,
Because
right?
what happens
But-
is we've been doing it organically.
I gate program, boy.
We've been doing it organically, but when we get the structure and intentionality behind
Exactly.
it, oh, we effective then. Because
Exactly.
now we're like, I'm laser to it now. Because usually it was kind of like, I just was kind of just doing it. I didn't really know what I was doing.
I'm gonna be honest. Brandon's what? nothing.
What you about to say?
Nothing. No, I'm not gonna say.
But I think, and that's why it's very important when we're having a product, service, in business. You have to speak to 100 or 200 of your customers. Know how to answer every rebuttal, every question. That's how you know how to sell. That's how you learn how to sell.
And that's how you give a rebuttal sheet. But see,
Exactly.
and so for me too, by knowing that, and you can put some structure to it, or you can teach people, because again, I'm a conceptual learner, which means I can teach you the concept. And if I teach you the concept, I don't have to give you the exact language all the time because it may not fit for you. But if I tell you connect with them on a human level, another person may say, well, that's what happened to me. I understand. My grandmother and them, you know, they left us money. And if my grandma didn't leave us anything, we wouldn't have had anything. So that's beautiful how you're looking out for your grandchildren. Or it could be, I understand, I don't have anything. And for you to be a grandmother that's already thinking about your grandchildren like that, you know, my grandmother wasn't in a position to do that. So I just want to honor you first by saying, see, like that, and I never teach anybody to lie. Don't ever lie. Just be honest.
Yeah.
And just speak what you know and you can relate to them, right? So that's a way to, even if you're on the phone, you can now, okay, that was a blueprint question. That was an action question. Y'all really ready for some spicy cheat code? You get on with your customer. You give them 4 stickers, them dots, or you give them 4 markers. While they're on the phone, they need to be coding that customer. Then they ask relevant questions. If she said, you said, how old is your granddaughter? Granddaughter, 12 years old, right? What does she love to do? She's a soccer player. She has a match coming up. Boom, boom, boom. They get back on the phone with that customer. So wait, did she win the soccer game?
Oh yeah.
Listen,
that's what you gotta. If
y'all didn't catch,
that's how y'all get him.
If y'all didn't catch any episode,
I do that a lot. I'm
this
good
the
at
episode y'all
that.
should have caught. She's given a blueprint of how to be successful in business down to a T in every level.
And I ain't never gave this one publicly.
On every level.
I never gave that publicly.
You wanna know what it is?
I keep that for the the one-on-one.
You wanna know what it is? We nurtured all the way from investment.
This is a fact.
And I do that. I'm good at
This is a
that.
fact. You see?
So I want to do.
And so, how do you know the blueprint versus knowledge?
Yes, yeah. That's one that.
That's one. It's like,
Okay,
wait.
let's do that. Yeah.
Blueprint. Father started the business, been running the business. Grandfather runs the business, been running on this system. Very smart in business. Son, knowledge. Dad, we need to implement crypto. Oh, hell no. See, here he go talking that crypto. See, the knowledge will take risk. He's smart, but he's technologically savvy. He's forward thinking. He's into the future. He cares more about that. So he'll deal with the startup. He's the white paper reader. Right? The blueprint, he's more traditional.
No, he's absolutely knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
So think blueprint, tradition, don't mess with my system, and you about to mess my money up. They've been hurt, wounded, they're skeptical, they don't trust. So you have to establish trust with them.
You knowledge.
Right? So see, but the knowledge, he'll take the risk. You know what I mean?
Yes, he will.
On the crypto. So that's how so I would say one's the father, one's the son in business, if that helps.
Nah, that's a perfect distinction.
Yes,
Okay.
That's a perfect distinction.
And if you're dealing with a knowledge and you have new people, knowledges will often ask you a question just to see what you know. They'll just throw something at you just to see.
That's how I know he's a boy. He will never ask the direct question.
That's what I do.
He will ask at least 4 to 6 questions
That's exactly what I do.
Before he gets to that last question, because the last question is more of like a condescending question.
Yes, it is.
It's not a question of
He lining you up.
yeah.
that's exactly
He
what I do.
lining you all the way up.
That's how I win in debates. I already know the end of this debate. I already got your pathway down. So people be like, they think I'm an oracle. They be asking me for lotto numbers and stuff. How did you
And that's
know
what I
that
be
this was
telling them.
gonna
This is
happen?
why I do that.
Like 4 or 5 years from now. I said, because I'm such a logical, I literally am like Dr. Strange. I'm sitting there analyzing every possible outcome, right?
That's
right.
That's how
exactly.
my brain works. And so because of that, when I'm really debating with somebody, I already know where this is going. You just got to figure out what's your best outcome. But I'm going to win either way because I'm not ego driven. So if I don't know, I already opted out. You see what I'm saying?
He's ego driven.
I'm not ego driven. So for me, and this is only because.
I don't know why you look at
wait.
me. I ain't even gonna respond to that. But
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you some grace on this. I might be more because I definitely for a fact don't want to be wrong. I would rather bow out than be wrong publicly. So maybe that's a little bit more ego, because some people are willing to still
that's a
keep
little
going.
ego.
But me, I would literally rather leave the argument, you know what I mean, and save face, and I will bow out gracefully and say, you got that, I'm outside of my comfort zone, I don't know about that, and I'll leave and I'll exit. But I'm not gonna, you see what I'm saying? So when I'm really arguing with you, trust me, I'm winning because I've already analyzed it. Yeah, so that's how you can tell the difference between the two. But if you are on the phone with the knowledge and you're like being asked questions that you don't know the answer to, what you do is you yield to them. So if he said, well, yes, I was calling you guys to see, some new AIs are out, right? What are you guys doing with the new AIs? Your rep is like, I don't know none of that, right? And you would say, the rep would simply say, you know what? That's a very interesting question. To be quite honest with you, that's outside of my lane of expertise. Would it be okay if I patch you through to someone else, or can I give you a call back, or, right? And I can tell you too, as a growing startup, we're always looking for information. Like, is there any suggestions that you had? Like, as I looked at you guys' website, right? Any suggestions? You write these
That's
joints
exactly
down.
how
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly how you tailor to
And
it.
then now they're going to start helping, like, oh yeah, well, you could do this, you could do that. And now you'll soften them, and they'll actually be more apt, because they're
To
going to
pay.
yeah, and they'll actually be like, okay, I'm willing to work with you guys, because you're not feigning intelligence or feigning something that you don't have.
One of the biggest things you broke down, identifying who you speaking to and how to approach them. That will take your business to the next level. She just broke it all the way down.
All the way down. If you missed this, I'm just saying right now. If you missed this, I'm sorry, you played yourself. That's
So
it.
right now, I want to do some rapid fire questions, right?
Okay.
So this one between you and Tev.
Oh,
You and Tev.
that's
You know, he always does it.
So
Sorry.
he really got the ego, because let me tell you a little bit about Tevin.
Oh my God.
He will go back and forth with me, knowing he's wrong halfway through and still prove his point. And he knows he's wrong, and he would keep going. That's ego.
I didn't get any of that today.
You won't see. You know what about Tevin? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Tev. Everybody says that. Yo, have you known Tev for a little while longer? They'll say, "Oh, I didn't know Tev was really like that." He don't show him. See, I show myself off rip. That's me. What you see is what you get. Tev, he a little caramel, a little light skin. So you think he a little sweet?
Yeah.
And then he turned
He's
over.
not sweet. He's black coffee.
He is.
He's
Tev,
black
I don't-
coffee.
Tev, I don't believe in it.
I'm not gonna respond.
He
to
look
any
light
of
and
this.
sweet. He's black coffee.
I'm not gonna respond any. I'm not
And
gonna
this is-
comment any further.
This is why we need partnership. This is why we need partnership.
That's hate.
We need
But
it.
let's get this rapid fire questions right.
man.
You answer first, and then Tevin answer. Speaking of both of you, I think I kind of know your answers. But let's start with you, Akanundrum, first. What would you rather do? Pay into an internship with a billionaire, or have a free full ride scholarship to get your MBA?
Ooh, that is that. Wait, hold on now. That's not as easy.
I know.
That's not as easy.
He knows my answer.
I'm going to. You said I have to pay to do.
You have to
internship?
pay to internship with a billionaire, or a free full ride scholarship to get your MBA.
Let's do this way. I'll be 50 this year, so 50.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats.
50-year-old Akanundrum is going to pay for the scholarship. Now, 20 or 25-year-old Akanundrum would have taken the course, and I would have paid to go to do the MBA. One, I would have been too intimidated to be around a billionaire. Yeah.
What's my answer?
Billionaire. Yeah. I know that's his answer. And I think that's a good point in what you said.
And I think that's me answering now. I'm
exactly.
Be
I think what she said is a good point.
You know,
you have to be ready for it.
super. That's
Yeah.
why.
Because you could pay
She
to the
fired.
billionaire. The billionaire will give you all the advice, and you'll know what to do with it.
Yeah, I know but that's why
So that's a great
I can say
answer.
that now. But I'm gonna be honest. Younger, I'd have took the full ride scholarship.
That's a great answer. If you had $1 million right now, put it into stable stocks or put it into real estate. It don't have to be right now, just in general, because the climate right now is stocks. Just in general, put it into stable stocks or put it into real estate.
I put it into me.
Oh, okay. Woo.
I do a good return.
Woo. I like that answer. You can't give that answer. She already gave it.
I wasn't gonna give that answer. I didn't even think of that. I'll be honest. That's why she's a gate program. I just let you know. $1 million into real estate or stocks. I'll do stocks because I can pull my money off of the stocks. And
I'm
then go
surprised
right
you
back
gave that surprised me a little bit.
No, because I think the knowledge I have now compared to maybe a year or two ago is different. Because I can put $1 million into stocks. I can pull a line of credit right back off of that and just go right back into real estate.
And
Okay,
I will
there
say
you go.
this: if I was just going to stay within the confounds of the answer, it would be real estate, but it would be somewhere water enriched.
Why is that?
Water.
Okay.
One of the richest
If
mineral.
you guys don't know, right now, WEF, Klaus Schwab just stepped down. His replacement is the head of Nestle. Water.
Mm.
If you know, you know. If you don't know, just wait a minute, Klaus Schwab, go look him up, look up Nestle, look up water, look at everything. You'll see the conversations about water. I will put it somewhere. If it was real estate, water enriched.
If y'all ain't tapped into Akanundrum yet,
Yeah, I should y'all play yourselves, bro.
next question. Live in a mansion or a high-rise condo?
High-rise condo all day, every day.
Oh, so we got
Fact.
the same answer.
Yeah, I know
you
high-rise
that.
condo.
Yeah.
Yep. I did the house thing. I don't want to do no more.
Lot of work, right?
Maintenance. Yeah, yep.
BMW or Benz?
I'm gonna say BMW. I'm not a car enthusiast,
Okay.
but only because the little bit that I know, little tiny, very tiny, I would say BMW.
I'm saying Benz.
Okay.
BMW has so much electrical problems.
Even though we was just excited in that's a
And I'm
video. It's
thinking
nice,
old
right?
school, right?
Well, yeah, no, it is. But remember, my dad was a
Oh yeah, your dad worked
mechanic.
on yeah.
So I used
That's
to
why
do.
I say I'm guessing really on that one.
Yeah, I
The
used to
little
do a
bit
lot
that
of
the little
mechanic
bit.
work with my dad, and not only just that, other people that I've did mechanic work with. BMWs always have wire harness problem. Wire harness is your main harness that controls the whole entire car.
See this?
A lot of electrical problems.
And
Okay.
That's why you stay in your lane. That's why I said I think it's probably for me more aesthetic than anything because I really
Yeah.
don't
Yeah, because Benz is more wealthy. It's just it's the same thing, just small intricate details different. BMW they purposely go out there because they have to compete against Benz.
Got you.
So they have to do something different because if they didn't and they kept the same aesthetic look, they wouldn't be able to compete.
Okay.
And they would have to
See, that
drop
makes
down
sense.
to a mid-tier vehicle because a lot of the things they do is just not up to what Ben's part is.
That's Tev. That's Tev, ladies and gentlemen. That's Tevin
I love
Facey.
the origin story of brands for this reason, right? Not just the numbers, but I love the story. That's my favorite thing to do is watch like entrepreneur documentaries. Is like what their entire journey.
Yeah.
That part I love. So,
Yeah, no, I actually like I like watching those things too. Those are some of the things I do like watching.
All right, so this is my last question. And I think I know your answer on this one too.
me?
CEO of a Fortune 500 company or run your own company?
founder all day. Founders
Founder of
hire
your own?
CEOs.
What do you think I'm gonna say?
Say your answer. And
No.
I'm gonna say if I thought you was gonna say. In my head, I know what you gonna say.
CEO.
I know.
I'm
Why?
only
Why?
because I'm only 30 now. Being a CEO would give me a lot more knowledge, different information, different foundational things that I could do inside of whatever founding company that I actually become a millionaire in closer to my 40, 50 ages.
And that's why we're partners, because I'm more of a founder.
Founder. Yeah, founder. And so for me, founder.
He's the visionary. I'm the
Yeah.
integrator.
And that's the one thing too. I noticed that there was so much popularity around CEO, but if we're being honest, a CEO is the person that the founder hires.
Yes.
Typically, the founder starts out as the CEO, but there's just not enough language, and I think to me, not enough push behind the concept of founder. Founder means I create a business, I birth a business. Everybody cannot be a founder. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the part right there. Is like for you to actually say, I can materialize something from my mind and bring it forth and then have people to run it and operate it. You're going to get more of those, but you have less founders. I think that for us, especially Black-owned businesses, we don't spend enough time. We're just advancing ourselves as glorified employees when we just brag about being a CEO and not giving ourselves a total credit. I'm a founder. Right? I am a
Yes.
founder. I can be a founder and CEO, but you will not forget the part of founder. That is the most important part that I think that we don't really understand what we do when we take it out of here and actually make it a real tangible thing. That's a powerful thing. And that actually moves you up into the value class, because if you look at any city, county, state government, country, whatever, they value business creators over employees, over residents, right? Because without the marketplace, you have no movement, you have no city, you have nothing. They will give you more leeway on taxes, on your bills, right? Everybody's trying to LLC themselves, because what did you realize? I get more as a LLC, as a business, but what has happened is we've started to create business. If you think about the institution of business and what it does for the city, typically back in the day, you had a brick and mortar. And that brick and mortar walked through traffic, hired people, right? It was an asset, taxes. Now you can start an LLC from your house, never leave your house, never employ anybody, never, you know what I mean? So it's really a glorified freelancer. So now when these people are to me, if you really want to leverage yourself up, you want to start to look at yourself more like a founder. We have to create job creators, because all we're doing right now is just creating a job. We got to create job creators in order to position ourselves more valuable in this economy. If you go to jail right now, just say you got picked up for something. Your Honor, I gotta go work tomorrow. You going to jail. Your Honor, I got 88 employees that depend on me tomorrow. You get an ankle monitor. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference in your contribution.
Adding value in the community.
Yeah.
That's what I think we need to start focusing on now. And that's why I wanted to start with that fundamental hiring, because we got to get away from just being freelancers, being I-9s, hiring I-9s. We need to get some W-2s.
I think in the state that we're in now, right, is I think the problem is everybody wants to be the entrepreneur, everybody wants to be the founder. Sometimes they don't understand that you may not be fit for that.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
And I think that's what's happening with a lot of people in this space, coaching space, whatever it is space. They're trying to be that founder. They're trying to, instead of maybe just being a coach that can work inside of somebody else's
CEO,
business.
COO.
We need those. Like, and that's the thing about when we start to have the conversation around hiring. Now we're filling roles, so everyone's not trying to be the top chief.
Exactly.
I need valuable people. I need an HR person. I need a PR person. I need different people to fulfill these roles. And because here's the reason why.
Because you'll get your time at that point.
Here's the reason why, and maybe you never want to leave, and that's okay too.
Exactly.
Here's the most incredible, the most important part. During the Great Depression, this is right after the 1920s, so this is the Roaring 20s. Money, affluence, everything was there. Black people were being hired more. Okay, when the crash came, as businesses started to fail, they started to lay off. And so unemployment was nationwide 25%. But for blacks, it was 50 to 70%. Now, most people would immediately say racism. That's a factor, but that's not the only factor. Here's the thing. There's a form of nepotism that will enter the marketplace when they start laying off. What does that look like? Right now, say I have enough money and my son is away at college. He's making money. He's doing whatever, right? Cool. I'm hiring people. Then my son calls and says, hey, Dad, I've been laid off. Hey, Mom, I've been laid off. Okay, what do you need? I need $2,000. Well, guess what? Mom and Dad's business is probably struggling too. So they're going to say, we don't have an extra $2,000, but there's a job here that I got, such and such does. You can come do this job. Watch, you guys, as the economy lays off. You're going to see more of the sons and the daughters and the family members in these local businesses as they bring their family in to give them an income. So that's one of the things that also happened. And the reason why black people were pushed out, we didn't own businesses. So where do we go? And so I'm telling people right now, they're like, okay, well, it's different now.
Job creation.
We're celebrating all of this. Oh, we got all these black-owned businesses. Let me go back. 96% are solopreneurs, single operated, which means 96% of our business owners cannot hire their own child right now. That's got to be a sobering thought, right? You got an LLC on paper, but you wouldn't even be able to give your child a job right now. Right now, unemployment is up for blacks, of course, than whites. But it was 6.7 for blacks, but it's 12% for teens, because these adults are taking the teen jobs. So that experience you're talking about, where your baby gonna get it when he's got to compete with a 45-year-old for that movie theater job or that retail job?
Yeah, I have been seeing a lot more older people
and you're gonna
working
see a lot
now.
more of it. And then as they take minimum wage up to 25, 35, you're gonna see more adults entering the minimum wage jobs. They're gonna take those teens out by experience. How many business owners are you hearing complain about hiring Gen Zs and millennials? You know, they're like, oh, they don't work out right. They on TikTok all day. They're hiring adults who are out of work and willing to do that job. So if we really look at this, see, I zoom out. See how big that problem just got right there? So when I'm talking about job creation, this is what I'm talking about. We've got to get in a position to, one, expand our businesses by being helped. If you get your business helped, right? What did you guys do? Formed a team. Your business grew. Now, when your daughter, your son, your cousin comes, it's not simply just, oh, come on, Brand, I know you got it, but I seen you on the, the Burberrys. I know you got it. No, I got a job. And you're benefiting them too by doing what? Doing the thing that we talked about at the root of this, exposing them to business, getting them behind the scenes. And maybe you do like my best friend did. You trust them, you give them some opportunity to spread their wings to grow within that business that bolsters their confidence. So see, I look at it from a very...
So there's something I saw online. You know Wallow, right? Wallow
Yes.
267? So he was saying something, right? I think this is a very important topic. So he's speaking to, I'm assuming maybe black business owners, but he was speaking to business owners, right?
Yes.
And one thing he said, he was like, yo, y'all got to stop saying black business owned, support my business, support my business. Y'all got to stop with that because you marginalizing your business and it sounds like y'all looking for handouts instead of creating a real good product, good service. So there's about, I believe, 14% of the nation that's black. About 14%, correct. Right? Even smaller percentage that's actual business owners, which you already addressed, business owners and entrepreneurs. I agree with Wallow. Learn how to be a great business. Learn how to build a great product and service instead of pushing black business owned. Because what you're doing is, it sounds like you're looking for support or a handout instead of just saying, I'm creating a great business and product and I'm not marginalizing to one small community who probably doesn't have even enough money to get you to that next level because there's only a certain amount of people that's spending and we're already so judgmental and fighting within ourselves.
Yeah,
build a great business and product you can sell and scale across America, across the world. If you do that the right way, your people are going to come to you. You don't have to keep calling them. So that's kind of my opinion towards that. I'm curious to see what's your opinion about that and how do you feel about that? I feel we can use that when we're going for grants.
I feel like
we're going for the money.
We decrease our customer base when we do that too, because a lot of just other races they don't care to hear that, hey, this is a black-owned business. It's just, hey, this is a business. I'm growing. You have your business. You're selling your product from your business. So yeah, how do you feel about that?
So I have a equally dual opinion about it.
Okay.
Again, owner of the Black Virtual Mall. All right.
The most qualified opinion, probably.
See?
Right.
So with that being said, here's the one side of it, and I'll go with the affirmative first. Okay, why we do that? Okay, so typically we are solving a problem as business owners, and we're typically solving our own problem. And so, for example, a hair product. My first product was a lock product, right? That I didn't see in the market. This was 2000. I think 10, 7, something like that, whatever, right? And I didn't see that product. So I'm solving a problem for a unique niche. There's riches and niches too, right? There's also the advantage of tapping into an underserved population in a market that's been largely ignored by the mainstream.
Yep.
So there is, to me, a fiscal opportunity to tap into an undersaturated market and benefit from that. And then also, because you have that personal experience, you speak to that experience, right? And so if I go through a weight loss journey, that's a segment, right? I can't be there for everyone. I just know my experience, because what do we need in branding and marketing to sell? Know you, like you, trust you. I have to be an authority in that space. So a lot of the solutions that we're providing, they are our own unique solutions. And this is why we do that. Right? Now, secondly, we're often the face of our brand. That by itself is going to make me black owned, whether I want to label myself or not. And when I say the face of the brand, I mean, we're the ones out there pushing it on social media. We're the ones out there communicating our brands. We haven't had the opportunity to be a faceless brand that we can just put marketing dollars behind. So by default, we're black owned, right? Now, in that, we've also had not that source of pride where we're seeing ourselves, celebrated for business. So when we got into business, we were just happy to champion ourselves as like, I'm a black owned business, and it felt good. Now, everything has a season and a time in which to grow. Now, here's the disadvantages, and I've talked about them. It makes us extremely vulnerable now. You remember the Wiz when he was like, all right, children, the color is red. They was like, all right, red. And he was like, the color's green. I wouldn't be caught dead in red. Okay, The color was DEI, and it was red, black, and green, and LGBTQIAPK plus 2. So it was rainbow, and it was diversity, and it was all of that.
That was a lot of alphabets.
Mm-hmm. We're moving now where, all right, children, the color is USA. The color is green. The color is red, white, and blue. And so if we don't understand how to pivot, and we're not the only ones, there's also women who are facing scrutiny. There was a restaurant just sued for having women's night, right, at the thing. So there's a pivoting and there's a shift. So I wanted to just preface by saying, I understand how we got there, and I understand why we did it. And they were throwing money at us. They were celebrating us, too. So you had people who became blacks from out of profession. They were professional blacks. You see what I'm saying? Who said that? John Hope Bryan said that. Some of y'all
Yes.
are a professional black, right?
Yes, yes.
So they became black professionals because it was incentivized. So I get that. Now let's move forward to talk about what it does and why you're at risk. Number one, the reason I just stated. We typically, I'm going to go out of order. Number one, we typically sell non-essential products because we came to the market late. We were on the market. We were the product. So we didn't get into
The
water
consumer,
and power
everything.
and infrastructure. If you shut down every single black-owned business in this country right now, you would still have everything you need. Everything. And some of what you want because it's technically white-owned now. You would get your water, your groceries, your medicine. You would get the police. You would get everything that you need. Every airline. What would you go without? What could you still? This is a scary thought.
It's the
That's
truth.
a
That's a
crazy
scary
good
thought.
point.
That's the truth.
Number
And
one.
just understanding that alone.
That alone.
Keep going.
So, number one, we sell non-essential items. Number two, we sell to the people who have the least disposable income, which is us, by targeting. Number three, we tend to sell things higher priced, especially if they're physical goods, because we can't buy in the quantity that can give us competitive range on our profit margins. So we're going to pass that on to the customer. So we're selling non-essentials that are overpriced to people who ain't got no money. We in trouble. So when the recession kicks in, like I asked people, right now the average American consumer is spending $1,096 a month more to get the same goods they got in 2022. So if your customer is spending an extra $1,096, is your product coming off the shopping list?
Can you, Cody, timestamp between 150 to 152? I'm sorry, that needs to be in the beginning of this podcast.
That's an executive decision right now, right?
They're serious, because that right there is I never even thought about that. Literally, if all black businesses shut down right now,
And I think that's
it wouldn't matter.
and that's where the conversation when people say
Yo, it's crazy, bro.
and that's why she's so informative on social media, and her voice is very, very important
Very.
because we have a lot of people who are loud on social media without facts and knowledge, where people say,
Or without a purpose.
and people say a lot, yo, the black dollar, it controls this
Oh,
portion
you want
of
to
the
eliminate
marketplace.
that? You want to knock that?
You
that
just
one out?
did.
No, not even that one. I'm
Oh,
talking about this
oh, we totally
other
did.
misconception. There's another misconception. Everybody is spreading this. We have the most spending. We are the
We have the most spending power.
Most spending power. This is mathematically impossible.
It's not. Yeah.
How can you be 14% of the population?
Yeah, we're not the biggest consumer.
How can you be the least disposable income, the least generators of wealth, and have the most spending power? How is that even mathematically impossible? So I'll tell you where they went wrong. It's the area that I do, and they made me do stats. So you got statistics that people don't know how to interpret. So what that means is this. If I have $100 and I spend 80 on BS, you will say I spend 80%. That's what I do. That's my spending behavior. Mm-hmm. If another person has 1,000 and they spend $500, he outspent me dollar for dollar, but on the percent,
It's 50%.
he's 50%. So then someone takes that 80% number and says, we spend the most. We do, but we don't have, not of
We
the
don't have-
little
we
bit.
Yes.
spending more than we have. That's why it looks that
Of
way.
the little bit.
Yeah, we
that
have the highest amount of
have.
debt.
And that's why us walking in with let's just say Gucci, Louis, and all that, and we walk in more expensive than what we have in our bank accounts.
Right.
So it looks like we're spending the most money. We're just spending all of what we have.
Right.
And that don't mean we're spending the most.
That's when it's even real Gucci. But my point is that at the end of the day, no, being real.
Hey,
That's when it's even real.
China, China just came out and said, "Hey, we produce all like 90% of your products." Literally, they came out and said they produce 90% of our products.
We knew things were manufactured in China.
Correct.
I don't know if they're as old as me, but I remember when everything started saying made in China, because at one point there was a made in USA movie.
Yes, there was.
Right? And so then we started seeing everything made in China. So we already knew the goods were made in China. But I've studied fashion because I had a fashion app. So when people are talking about fashion houses, and that was another conversation that was on your page, right? Mm-hmm. So here's my position on that. When they say, well, we'll spend and we'll get a white man our money and this and this and this. Let's just carve this out real easy, real neat. Okay? When you have two types of luxury consumers. Mm-hmm. You have one who's buying craftsmanship and quality. Mm-hmm. They don't need the logo. You won't even know what they're wearing. There's another who buys for vanity. They want you to know what they're wearing because it's a status accelerator. Okay? It's going to let me walk in a room and get treated, respected, valued, looked at. It's going to cut straight through the noise. Because in your mind, it used to say, before it was knockoffs, right? Okay, he has enough money to afford that. He has a Maserati. He has this. So immediately, we don't have to really talk about it. We can get straight to it. Okay? That's what it is. Now, do black people only use status accelerators? No. Indian people do. Chinese people. All of these people buy luxury. They buy a ton of luxury in Dubai and other countries that are from Europe. Now, why is it we're buying from the white man? Well, if you look at the fashion houses, Louis Vuitton did not start as a purse manufacturer. Mm-hmm. He was a trunk manufacturer who made very good trunks that had to be in compliance. They had to be seawater resistant. Louis was making trunks before we had airplanes. Yeah. He was a part of the aviation in terms of the weights and the measurements. Because he used to ship via the sea. Exactly. He's the reason why you have a trunk in your car and a glove box. It was a real box that you put your gloves in. Okay? So this person was in the mechanics of our industries. They made quality craft goods. Hermes was into the horse industry. Yes. Right?
Yep. They had a whole big horse farm.
So their stuff is like really solid, crafted for that industry. It became more of a luxury product.
And but Gucci was manure, correct?
Right. Yep. So they were built on craftsmanship. Mm-hmm. Now, you have couture. This is made just for you. That's really what Dior and them were doing. This was a couture dress. You pass this down generation to generation.
They're fashion houses.
Then they got into the ready-to-wear market, which is what we consume. Things that were cut already out, and then they put it on the rack, and you can just buy it off the rack. So let's just get that part. Now, when we say, well, why do we buy from Europe? Because if you even look at Hermes, say in 1837 to, say, Dior in like 1940 or Versace, say 1970s.
Yeah, 1970s.
But even if you go just 18-something to the 1940s, where were we at?
Nowhere.
No, where were we in America?
On the plantation.
On the plantation.
Thank you. What do we have to sell? Authority in a space. So how do we think that I can launch a brand today and claim authority in an industry that has been going on since the 1800s, since they're 200 years old
we're self-entitled.
as a fashion space? This is a problem.
Entitlement, yeah.
Now, and here's the thing. That doesn't just exist in fashion. And we need to stop doing that. Like, you can't just come into an industry of that. Because here's my question, and this is going to be the hard question. I don't know nobody ready for this. The example is, if this person has a shoe that costs this much, and you say, I start a shoe, right? Mm-hmm. My question to you, so when I say we're buying for two things, if we're buying for quality and craftsmanship, that is experience and time and market. Mm-hmm. If we're buying for status, you still had to been around a long time.
Right.
Right? You still had to been around a while to accept. So when I walk in a room, it says Gucci, you know who Gucci is. Louis, you don't have to open your mouth. The work has already been done. Mm-hmm. Hundreds of years of branding, hundreds of years of marketing.
That's why they don't market.
It's already been done. Mm-hmm. They still market, right? But not like that.
Yeah, exactly, I would say.
Right? So my point is this. You're either going to be craftsmanship over time, quality, or you're going to accelerate my status. So if I start a shoe line or a purse line or anything right now, why would I charge the $950 or why would I charge $1,000 for that good?
Entitlement. We want to fast forward. We think we can fast forward.
My point is, I haven't put in the time to be a master of that craft.
That was a conversation we just had yesterday about something.
Right? Or My brand is not going to immediately accelerate you. So my question would be to anybody new, black, Hispanic, I don't care what you are. If you say, well, you'll buy a Gucci shirt for $1,000, but you won't buy my shirt. My question to you would be, why does your shirt cost $1,000? Mm-hmm. So that means that you're knocking him and claiming he's robbing me.
You're doing the same
But
thing.
you actually would try to rob me more because you don't even have the craftsmanship. You don't even have the social accelerant. Why are you pricing it at $950? Like, and you really couldn't give me an answer. Are you going to tell me about your manufacturing? Are you going to tell me about your trademark, your staff? Are you going to tell me about your lawyers? Where is this cost coming from?
I got something, right? So
And one of the things, before you do that, one of the things they're going to say, oh, Yeezy did it. So they're going to look at the percentage of the percentage of the percentage, not knowing his path, not knowing he was already an authority of who he was, the top of his game. They're going to ignore all that and say, Yeezy did it.
Now, I did provide that on my post. I said, you're going to have to either do the craft.
Yes.
You're going to have to spend a lot of time, right, in that. Or you can do a cheat code, which is, I said, celebrity. But what you're doing is you're leveraging a person who's already did what? Time and market, mastered their craft. There's no getting around it. You're borrowing.
And that takes investment, which a lot of times they don't even want to do.
So hold on. Yeezy could only sell it because he had already become an authority of influence.
I'm going to tell y'all something, right? So I have a cousin in China. I think I've told you about her. She's a sourcing agent. Daniela. Shout out to her. She's been a sourcing agent, I think, for about five years, but she's been in China, I think, for about 8 to 9. The difference in what Nike or Gucci or Louis or Prada, any of those big brands would spend based upon their material compared to a regular brand that wants to come out and spend the money in order for them to get the same type of quality that they spend, they will spend millions of dollars. And even if it's a small sample size, they will still spend millions of dollars. The amount they spend just in general to build what the SOPs and the amount of people they hire in order to make sure that they have the same quality through and through throughout anything is nothing compared to any small business.
Like she said, they have fashion houses.
No, they have the fashion. So they have fashion houses in their respective countries.
Yeah,
because the fashion houses then come to China to ensure that the quality meets up to those standards. So the fashion houses aren't in China, but the fashion houses, they come to China or they come to Thailand or they come to Pakistan in order for them to ensure that the quality is met. And that's the reason why I know about Dior and Gucci and the rest of them.
Excellent point there, right? Remember when I said, why do we have to have higher prices? Because we can't buy in the bulk necessary, right? Mm-hmm. So even when we see on TikTok where people are saying, oh, you see this shoe? It's an ASIC. They pay $500. You can come right to me. I'll make the shoe for $9. And they make it seem like you can just get that $9 shoe and then you can just start selling a $500 shoe. That is so crazy to me that anybody would even buy into that concept. Like, it's not that easy. One, you don't have a customer base. What is your customer acquisition cost? Number one, right? Like when we even talk about testing your prototypes, when we start talking about like everything else that goes into a brand of notoriety, a brand that says, I'm dropping something tomorrow. That's all I got to say and I'll drop it. That took thousands, millions, years. And so to me, we're looking for that, like you said, that cheat code, and then we want to guilt trip people like, oh, well, why you want to buy it from me? Bro, did you put in the work? Everyone wants to talk about what it costs to make that good, but what are the operating costs of that business? So when you're seeing that price, the operations are also into that. Mm-hmm. The insurance, the IP, the lawsuits, all of that stuff is rolled into that price too. And then they have to still have room for profit. Then they have to have all of those things. And I think that's the part that makes that IG entrepreneurship so scary to me. You know what I mean? Because the way that
they don't calculate that.
They're not calculating. Like I've actually put up formulas. Do you know how to do your profit margin? Do you know net profit versus gross profit? Right? They don't. You ask a person right now, are you selling a cupcake? How much is the ingredients in that cupcake? They can't tell you. They just price it, and that's the scary part.
With that being said, you see the Millionaire Essentials merch, right?
Hey, right? Go ahead.
This is very great quality. Look good.
Stop playing.
And it is. So look, let me tell you guys. guys something. It actually is. It's nice and thick.
Yep.
One,
French terry.
there we go. And look at how the
stitching.
stitching is.
Mhm.
See, it's things like that you actually pay attention to that are good.
And this is the purpose. This is one of the main reasons, and because Brandon, like, we have this conversation all the time. This is one of the main reasons why we have not launched our merch yet, because I'm very particular.
about
We're doing
what
a
it
bunch of
looks like.
testing. We're getting the right vendor.
Like-
We've had this going. And some people may say we procrastinate, taking
Yes.
too long, but we're not the type just to put some. All the things you said, we're doing.
Yes.
Now, can I give y'all some? This, are y'all open?
Yeah.
You open to criticism?
Of course.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I actually said this. I have said this before, and I've posted it. So
Okay.
Go
I'm
ahead.
not picking on you. But to me, in my opinion, when we start a new brand, one of the first fundamental things that we mess up by doing is slapping our logo on everything. I'm gonna tell you why. I buy your brand, right?
Uh-huh.
Somebody's gonna say, "What's that?" What do I have to do?
Look it up.
No. If I walk in the room and I have on the Millionaire Essentials right now,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna say, like, "Oh, what's that?" Right?
Yeah.
What do I do?
You mean?
I have to explain to them, like,
Yeah.
who is
it is-
Millionaire
yeah,
Essentials?
Gotcha. Yes. Okay.
What am I doing?
Edifying it. Edifying it.
I'm explaining it to the customer. Am I selling? Am I marketing? Am I advertising for you?
Mm,
Sort of, kind of, because I
Kinda,
got it
yeah.
on.
Oh, yes,
Then I
yes,
have to
yes.
explain it to the customer.
Yes, you're talking about if you have it on. Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I'm thinking if
No.
I have it on.
Oh,
Sorry,
if
if you have it
yes.
on.
I walk in with this on into a room, and somebody's
Yes.
like, "Yo, what
Yeah,
is
you,
that?"
you got to educate them on who
I'm
Millionaire Essentials
educating
is.
them. I paid for the
You're doing
merch.
our job.
Ooh, and I paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
even better.
So for us, for you, but not for me as a customer, right?
Okay.
For me as the customer.
Oh, they don't know it.
They don't know it.
But this is why when I talk to brands and they do this logo stuff, they always say their merch don't sell. They never sell their merch. I said, why? Why would I want Millionaire Essentials all over me? And see, now I'm gonna tell you. You gotta
I get
build
what she's
it.
saying.
You have to build the brand to be something that people can recognize.
That's our goal.
Yes, that's
the
our goal.
Now,
Yes.
but here's the thing: you can do something in between time.
Okay.
So if you know your audience, you should know slogans and things that they want. So I used to make graphic tees, right? I look at people as human billboards. The tee that they're wearing, it allows them to walk into a room and convey a message without even opening their mouths. So if I know my audience is super on, like, I want to support Black-owned business, I made a T-shirt that said, "I bought this from a Black woman." What are we talking about? You just walk right in the room. You just sit down on a podcast, and the shirt says, "I bought this from a Black woman." Everything that you value, your principles, because now
It's
it's
in
about
that shirt.
consumer psychology. It's the psychographics, not just the demographics. We want to know the value of the customer. You know how easy that makes it for them? I made a shirt that said, "For Black female consumption only." Every man that walked in that room left with I don't even know how many phone numbers. Any event he went to, the women was like, "Say less," right? They were calling me up like, "I'm gonna need 4 or 5 of them shirts, man." Like they just work for me. So my point is, and then you put your branding somewhere else,
Right.
So you can still do both, because you're gonna get your evangelicals, you're gonna get your loyalists.
Yep.
I would even say before you sell this merch, those are only to be giveaways to your evangelicals.
That's yeah.
It's a Girl Scout badge. Yo, where you get that? You gotta earn that. What? He got one. Yeah, he show up every day. He there every day. I see him in the comment section. I see him reposting our stuff. I'm gifting that to him. So this is a earned piece.
She
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie, she good.
She making
bro.
us money while we on the podcast.
Right, I
I
ain't
tell you
gonna
that
lie.
much.
Right?
Well, listen, hey, if you comment in the YouTube section down below,
Right.
subscribe,
We might.
Share,
Subscribe,
all
comment,
that.
like.
Yep.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Because
got you.
That
We
gotta
got
be
you.
this. I mean, and it's quality. This need to be earned. And who's gonna wear it? Your loyalists.
Exactly.
They're going to be the ones that are singing your praises when they walk into the room like, "God, these my boy, you don't know, bro." See, I'm up, and we got the undergrounds who love to brag about they was there the day ones, right? Man, look, I had this day one.
got some.
Y'all ain't got this one because they ain't even sell this one, right?
Yep.
So as your brand expands, imagine you got a particular colorway, right? That was just set for a certain year, and you done blew up. Man, they had that shit on eBay. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I got that Millionaire from like this one.
Yeah,
but I'm
from
saying it gives them
Circa
bragging.
21.
Right. So when you're building your community out, to me, that's the most precious right there. Now, I'll give you the slogans. You can buy that. Have a little Millionaire Essential on the back. Little Millionaire. That's just, just my little
No,
that's perfect. You just being the marketing genius you are. Just
he got another question.
No, this is the last question. I want to wrap up with this because we got to touch on this. The marketing genius you are, how easily you just broke that down to us and just gave us some plans we could already build up off. Social media. Earlier I said you got time because you're heavy on social media, right? Your reach is incredible.
Yep.
And you said earlier you're about to turn 50. There's a lot of people still today struggling with marketing, branding on social media, especially the older crowd who's still trying to catch up. And they say, hey, I'm an introvert, or I don't know how to promote my brand. Or maybe the older businesses, they're making a lot of money, but they still haven't caught up to the times of social media. How have you, or what advice can you give even the older crowd or the younger crowd who's trying to still get their brand out and be good and consistent on social media?
Right. So 2 words in social media is social media. People start focusing on the media and not the social. They focus on the aesthetics. They got these perfectly curated pages that match and they're so beautiful and they look real good, 3-way color blocks. I know I did it. I can show y'all a page right now. I will floor you. That page has no engagement. That page was the bots. I was talking to the bots. That's how desperate I was over there. You see what I'm saying? You think Martha Forex would like that? You know what I mean? Like that part. It was, oh, this is so pretty aesthetically. When you do that, you make a nice little window. Oh, it's nice. It's cute, right? You have to focus on the social part. That is the advantage that we got over big brands when we took to social media is we had direct access to our consumer. Direct line of communication. So how do you do that and be consistent? Number 1, I post what I want to talk about. I treat my house like a podcast. I treat my page like a podcast. I literally post the subject matter that I care about and I run my ass to the comment section. You got to post and then post up. A lot of people post and they walk away.
That's yo.
Right?
Yo, I don't want to hear nothing else.
Right.
She is the best, y'all. I just want to let y'all know that from now. She is fire. Fuego.
He's definitely a post and walk away.
I'm definitely a post and walk away.
He's a post and come back next month.
No, not even next month. I'll be there next year. I'm posting next year.
See, I post
and you post up. No, Brandon posts. He posts up for like a second and then he hit the dip.
Look, when I evaluate people's social media page, you know what they be telling me? I don't have no engagement. So the first thing I'm going to do, right, when I go to their page, I'm looking at the number of comments. If I don't see an odd number and you ain't hardly got no comments, I got a problem with you. You know why? Because that even number, because you're not responding to people. Now, here's the thing, and how does Instagram work? Let's talk about the algorithm, okay? Screw trying to understand it.
I was about to say, it's ever changing.
I follow what's in him every day.
So all you got to learn is this. What is Mark's goal? So we're going to talk about Mark Zuckerberg. If you know what his goal is, you don't have to really worry about the methodology because you'll be in alignment with his goals. All right. So Mark wants to, his product is he sells advertisement. That's how he makes his money. Now, in the advertisement world, it's not just about demographics, things that you can quantify. Demo, 18, 19-year-old, female, this and that. No, it's about psychographics. You need to be able to understand what people value. In order to do that, you have to allow them to be somewhere where they can actually engage and you can observe, okay? So I call it pull their thumbs out. You got to make posts that people want to pull their thumbs out, okay? So what Mark wants is he wants to be able to sell to his audience. Oh, I can tell you what she like, where she be, what she care about, what make her mad, what make her sad, what move her. So me as a person trying to advertise, I can place correctly. But Mark can't do that alone. He need Brandon. He like, Brandon, do me a favor. Can you make some posts that could like get some people to come around
right.
and then we can see what they like and they talk and I can read and such and such and such? Brandon like, yeah. Okay, the more you do that too, Brandon, guess what? I'm going to put you out to more people, right? If you do it good. And you know what I'm going to do for you, Brandon? You can sell whatever you want on my page, on my platform. I'm never going to charge you a dime. You said what, Mark? I said you can sell whatever you want, and I'm never going to ask you for a percentage of it. So you mean if my milkshake bring the boys to the yard and you get to watch the boys, I can sell to the boys. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, right? Okay, cool. People don't understand the symbiotic relationship. So when you're looking at what they measure, likes, comments, shares, saves, watch time. They're giving you these metrics for a reason, and they're letting you see these metrics for a reason. Now, what is the value to these metrics is what we got to understand. So that tell us how to move. They don't care about likes as much anymore. Likes have been compromised. You can buy likes.
Mm-hmm.
They care about comments. So people are going through their page at 60 miles an hour. You made them stop. Like, now me, I'm a habitual liker. I just be like. I ain't even seen the shit. I be like, right? I ain't even gonna lie, cause I just be trying to support people, like, and then, but then I'm like, oh hell no, unlike, I can't be seen liking that, right? But if you make me like, whoa, hold on, open it up. They're measuring my time. They're already calculating my time watching. Now I'm like, oh, I feel a way. Boom, boom, boom. And then Brandon come back, bop, bop, bop. And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. And then 4 or 5 other people come in and we going at it. Instagram is watching. They like, yo, it's hot over here. The block is hot.
Yo, she is so
That's
smart.
why she got time.
That's why, yo, she commented on that comment and it was nothing but
Like
other
200
comments
comments,
out of nowhere.
Boom, 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 boom. And I'm going to come back. See, that's what I'm going to do for you. If I come to your page, I'm going to be there. Boy, I'll be right
She be
there
putting
with
paragraphs.
That's why I be saying
And
like,
you know why?
I be trying to read. I was like, yo, she
You know
going
why?
crazy.
Because Instagram is like, yeah, this the one. They pulling the thumbs out, right?
oh my God.
So now, guess what they gonna do? They gonna start pushing you out there. You know what else they gonna do? Oh, this hot. That heifer. Let me save this so I can make sure I can find that heifer. They like, oh, you saved it. That shit, it was so valuable. She had to save it. And you know what else? Let me go call my dogs in. Share it. Come look at this. Guess what? Instagram is like fire. And they're going to continuously push you to the thing. So now, how do you do that? Post what you care to talk about. If you post what you want to talk about, you going to be up in that thing talking. Now, I will also say you can post polarizing subject matter in your industry. And you can still position yourself as a neutral party. How? Right now in your industry, tell me something that's a controversial take right now.
No PG funding.
No PG funding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is the two sides to that argument?
It's either you can do PG, which is personal guaranteeing funding, or you can do non-PG funding. Non-PG funding, we know, is not as effective and efficient as PG funding is.
Now, the pro PG funding, how do they feel about it? What's their argument?
People want
fast results.
No, people want a lot for nothing. Basically, I want to get 100,000 without collateralizing or putting nothing up. I just want to walk in the bank. I have an LLC. Give me 100,000.
Okay, so if I had to place that, I would be like PG funding, right? Get the money or whatever versus non-PG funding, such and such and such. What do you think? People are just in your industry. They feel passionate about that. They're going to come in. They're going to talk. Now, what you do is you take the talk show host appearance. So you don't want to overtly bias your guests too much because it'll make them not want to talk because they'll be like, I like Brandon. I want to go against Brandon, right? Brandon's my guy. So you can say, what do you thought? All thoughts are welcome. Just be whatever you want to say, and then you let them go at it. Because when they fight all day long in the comment section, it still boosts your algorithm. Now, it's going to boost you out to the algorithm. Now, I would also do this for the people who don't know. We see everybody want to weigh in the damn conversation. They don't even be knowing nothing. And they just jumping in and giving an opinion. They like, I ain't even ready, but I feel this way. Right? So what I would do is I would say pro PG people, and I would get a best argument. Now, those are against PG, and I would give their best argument and say, how do you feel about it? And then walk away. You see what I'm saying? Walk away meaning I'm not adding my opinion.
Right.
But then when they talk, and they fight, and I'll be like, oh, that's a good point. I never thought about that, right? Such and such and such. And then, so you're just really a neutral kind of like ref and just let them. I got people that's still fighting from 2 weeks ago on posts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because there's things that make people feel impassioned. Most people just do product. You know what I'm going to do? Like, oh, that's cute. Like, walk away. Like, I'm not going to stop and pull my thumbs out. Make them pull their thumbs out. So talk about the hot stuff that gets the people going. That's why Shade Room is so popular.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
That's why their algorithm is crazy. Shade Room, all of them.
They type into what people feel passionately about. So you just bring the passion points in your industry and talk about them.
Well, this has been a crazy episode. This has been a wealth full of knowledge at Akanundrum. We appreciate you for coming out here. This literally might be the best episode we've had so far.
Literally.
From the knowledge you've given,
seriously,
from the start to the finish.
Serious.
And I was expecting that. I wasn't surprised. I was definitely expecting
the name
that.
Akanundrum, I mean, you have to.
He said it was going to be some big words.
I said
words, huh?
I was definitely expecting that. And so you have the challenge coming out.
Mm-hmm.
late May, around the 22nd or 23rd.
Yeah, 22nd, 23rd.
Something
Y'all
like
told
that.
you I'm about to be 50 years old, so don't hold me. But but where they can find me, talking about marketing,
Yes.
make it simple, Akanundrum.com. Everything, right? Name, Akanundrum. When people be like, Akanundrum _ over here, Akanundrum 1 over here, Akanundrum 4, 5, 6 over there, just Akanundrum.
If you don't know how to spell it, just use the voice dictation.
And it's AKA, just like that. As soon as you type in AKA
Conundrum.
on Instagram, I'm coming right up, right? So everything is there.
Okay, and that's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere.
I'm not on TikTok.
Okay,
I
no
am
TikTok.
on Facebook.
Facebook.
I am on Threads. I am not on X, but yes,
Okay.
on Instagram.
All right, there we go. Follow Akanundrum.
Please.
Subscribe to Akanundrum. Be at that challenge in May. When you go on her website, you'll see when the challenge is. Make sure you guys tap in Akanundrum. This has been a great episode from the Millionaire Essentials podcast. You already know I'm Brandon the Provider.
Yes, sir. It's Tevin Facey.
Akanundrum.
Make sure y'all like, subscribe, put your notification bells
Comment.
on. Comment. You gotta have a comment for the engagement.
Yeah, if you want the merch, make sure you comment.
Right.
Share,
You gotta earn
like,
the
post.
merch.
You gotta earn this.
You gotta earn
You
that.
gotta earn this. This is fire. Trust. We had people that stop us. Literally, I had somebody at the post office yesterday. She stopped me. She said, and I forgot to tell you this. She stopped me. She was like, what you're wearing is amazing. I have to ask you, what do you do?
Yes.
She actually works for Dave Ramsey as one of his coaches.
Oh wow.
Yes.
I was
See,
like,
she got a trained eye. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like I said, even this, I'm looking at the like if you guys can't really see, I know, but when I tell you it's really quality, I can tell that you guys are really doing your due diligence.
Yes.
You know, on what you're doing. So for me, that's time in, and everybody else need to be time in if you want to have it. That's how I feel about it.
thank you, appreciate it.
Appreciate you for coming out. Catch you soon. Tap into this episode. We out. See y'all soon. Peace.
Hey, it's Akanundrum. Listen, I do podcasts. I do a lot of podcasts. But I'm going to have to tell y'all the truth. This is I went all the way there. I gave it. We talked about all the hard-hitting topics and the controversial subject matter, like why do black people only want to buy from white-owned brands? And we talked about all kinds of things from the fundamentals of businesses and our challenges. But we got super deep. And I mean, some of this stuff is going to be a little hard. I don't know if everybody can take it, but that's what they do here at Millionaire Essentials is they're not just going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what you need to hear. And they're going to bring on guests like me that are known for that. So listen, make sure you like, subscribe, follow. This is definitely the podcast that is worth your attention. And I'll see you there.